The official BSB Partner Series. This is FAB-Racing. Racing. This is the 2020 FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. Round 3, Clay Pigeon Raceway.
Hello and welcome back to FAB-Racing. You join us here from Clay Pigeon Raceway. FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship 2020 and third round of the season. My name is Gareth Hall. This is Tristan Finocchiaro. And Tristan, we had two jam-packed rounds at Lid 2 weeks ago. This week here at Clay Pigeon, we're already in practice. We've seen that the pace is just amping up.
Yeah, it's been brilliant so far. We've seen some lap records go already, and some brilliant close times all throughout all the classes. Some new names and some of the famous names all fighting through all of the classes. So will be an exciting weekend, just as Lid was.
Yeah, and what are you expecting from this weekend? We've seen the likes of Ethan Sparks do really well, and obviously in the AC40 Pro class. We've seen Mason Foster do quite well, Johnny Garness do well. So there's a lot of riders that started off the season well. Are you expecting them to push on, or maybe the others rein them back in a little bit?
It'd be nice to see some new names up there, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of riders like Clayton Edmonds, Samuel Munson that will be trying to make their way up in some of the junior classes. But of course we're going to be keeping our eye on Johnny Garness in that GP70 class. No Casey O'Gorman this weekend, so he'll be focused on destroying the field, and be interesting to see who can go with him.
Yeah, and of course you can join us all for it throughout the next 2 days. We'll be streaming every race live here on FAB-Racing, and you can watch on their YouTube channel, equally on their Facebook channel. Of course, listen live on motorsport.radio. All the action all through the weekend, and we'll be covering a couple of races this afternoon, and then all throughout tomorrow. We've got race 2 and race 3 throughout the day, so plenty of action to do for these guys and these riders out there. So yeah, so much action, and at the moment we've got out on circuit the MK Mini GP 50s who are completing their second and final qualifying session. So had one qualifier earlier today, and at the moment it's Ollie Horner that's got a really good time of a 40.8, so a really good lap so far for Ollie.
Yeah, really good from Ollie. He's a 0.3 faster than anyone in this session at the moment, so brilliant stuff from him. We saw he picked up a few fourth places last time out at Lid, wasn't quite able to step it up onto the podium, so he's looking good to change that this weekend and fight for some podium positions. But Ethan Sparks then, he had a good run out last time, as well as Mason Foster and Ronnie Harris. Mason Foster, Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks, they're the top three you expect. They sort of locked out the top three last time out, but it looks as if Ollie Horner's given them a good run for their money at the moment. Yeah,
Ollie that's finished off of the podium quite often in round 1 and round 2, doing much better, but we'll see obviously in the second qualifying session. It gives these riders the opportunity to beating their first qualifying time. And yeah, the MKGP 50s, their 50cc engine, liquid-cooled, 6-speed gearbox, manual clutch, hydraulic front and rear disc brakes with 12-inch wheels. These riders all need to be 8 years and above, but they can do upwards of 80 miles an hour. So they're pretty tasty bikes, Tristan, and a lot of these riders have just stepped up from especially the LC40 Elite class.
Yeah, this will be their first taste at gearbox racing, and they're doing a brilliant job of it. The lap times have been coming down as the weekend's gone on. The lap record, a 39.8, held by Ryan Hitchcock currently. So they're getting closer and closer to that. They've smashed the times earlier on in qualifying 1. So your fastest in this session will be your front row. Earlier on they were in the 41s. So in the 40.4s at the moment, so brilliant stuff from all of these guys.
Yeah, and you've got to think Ollie Horner will be delighted with that lap, and he's beaten his time that he set earlier by a considerable amount as well. So yeah, really good laps so far for Ollie Horner. Ronnie Harris up there in second position at the moment, and we were speaking about him earlier. Ronnie has started the season off very, very strongly indeed. Very, very fast starter and very consistent once he gets going.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's done really well, and he'll be looking to step one up this weekend at the moment. It's all quite relatively close at the moment. 0.3 Ollie has over Ronnie at the moment. Ethan Sparks very, very close to Ronnie Harris at the moment for third, so it'll be interesting to see who can lock out that front row at the moment. Ollie Horner has now taken the flag, so he will take pole position ahead of Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks, who will line up on the front row. So that's your top three in this session at the moment. Samuel Munzer in fourth place on the number 72, ahead of the number 88 of Mason Foster. Clayton Emmers, number 146 this weekend, looking very determined this weekend. He's in sixth spot, just ahead of number 7 of the number 100 of Cameron Sewell, ahead of Warwick Brady, Charlie Hunterford and Casey Sperry rounding out this session.
Yeah, and you can see just how close in the timing screens it is there. Between the gap between Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks, 0.08 of a second, and then the gap between Samuel Monson, Mason Foster and Clayton Edmonds equally was 0.03 of a second. So incredibly close, and this MKGP 50 class is looking so tight this season.
Yeah, it's between those top three at the moment. Ethan Sparks, Ronnie Harris and Mason Foster, they've been absolutely dominant at the front, with the likes of Ollie Horner just trying to hang on to their coattails at Lyd, but it is Ollie Horner that has got the better of them at this one. He takes pole position then. Samuel Munson in fourth. That's a good ride from him. He was doing well at Lyd, but wasn't quite able to latch on to your top three. So we were talking earlier on, Gareth, about how this circuit is so much shorter than Lyd, and we can expect to see some real bunching up and some group fights at this track. So possibly some new names on the podium this weekend.
Yeah, and a lot of the riders have been saying to us throughout the weekend so far that they're expecting that to happen. They're expecting, because it is such a shorter circuit. The Lyd had upwards of 17 corners for some of the classes. This has only got 6 or 7 really, if you look at some of the bends around here. So it is going to offer a completely different experience for these riders. And we're expecting, hopefully, some dry running. We had mixed conditions in Lyd, so these riders know what to expect. They can see the blue skies above them, and I'm sure most riders will be delighted with that. We know that some actually elevated their position in the wet, but most riders will enjoy it in dry. But yeah, a completely different track in store compared to what we saw in Lyd, but no less exciting, because yeah, it is a fast one and very twisty and very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All the riders say that they enjoy this circuit. No real rest around this circuit. It's very much corner after corner after corner. The longest straight being that back straight just after the S's, but it's not really a very long straight at all. You can just see it in the picture there with Harrison Crosby going down into the hairpin. That's the longest straight they get on this lap. So no rest for these riders. And it's all action. Harrison Crosby is currently in this Extreme 200 session, qualifying to the second qualifying session for these riders. Harrison Crosby is currently that leads it, but a long way to go, with only one flying lap down for your top 5 at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how this one hots up. Quite a few British Talent Cup BSB riders in this one. Expect Charlie Nesbitt, the number 86. He was smashing lap records earlier on in qualifying 1, so expect to see him up the sharp end. Eddie O'Shea as well, he was right on his tail, so we saw some lap records go earlier on today, and might even see some more in this session. Yeah,
we saw the times dip into the 37s with the likes of Eddie O'Shea and Charlie Nesbitt. So yeah, we were saying earlier we're expecting them to go even quicker, because they've had a lot of experience out on circuit now. They've had a lot of laps over Friday and now throughout the first practice session this morning and in qualifying 1. So they've had plenty of time out on track. They know exactly where the racing line is, and it's all about finding the right racing line.
Yeah, absolutely. It was 37.6 that Charlie Nesbitt set earlier on today, so the 38.6 that's currently topping this session won't be quite good enough for pole position at the moment, but like we say, a long way to go in this session. We might see them go even quicker, but 37.8 it was the old lap record. So Charlie and Eddie O'Shea also 37.7. So they were really flying earlier on today. You can just see in your screen there the number 16. That's Harvey Claridge at the moment. Expect to see him quick in this session as well. He was low 38 earlier on, so brilliant stuff to see so many names, so many big names in this class.
Yeah, and we were talking about this earlier, and there are, in this field, a number of names that people will recognise that have moved in through to the next stage, to the next level, and the next generation, really, of British motorcycling talent.
Yeah, it's good for the riders in this class as well to be learning off the big names, as we were saying earlier on. They'll be able to teach them a lot, and it'll give them some incentive as well to beat these guys. As Charlie Nesbitt goes to the top of this session once again, he's hasn't quite beaten his time from earlier on, but he's on top in this session at the moment. So the number 86 doing really well. Looks like there's a problem there for the number 99 of Bailey Stewart Campbell as well, with the orange leather. Almost looks like a Repsol livery on that bike. He's back up and running though, and we'll be looking to set some quick times in this one. 38.8 he's currently on, so good time from him. But it is currently Charlie Nesbitt, the number 86, who is leading this session and looking good for pole position. Yeah,
it's with 4 minutes left to go in the session. As you say, Charlie, he's not even beat his own time at the moment, so it's all on everyone else. Harrison Crosby in second position in this qualifying session so far. So Harrison, he's got a bit of work to do to close in on both Eddie O'Shea and Charlie Nesbitt's time from qualifying one. And a big welcome to everyone watching at home. I'm sure you're watching the live stream on Fab Racing's YouTube or Facebook page. Make sure you give us a like, and equally subscribe and follow the page, and make sure you let us know and drop into the comments who you're supporting, who you're watching, and equally what you want to see throughout the weekend. So always good to hear from all of you at home. And of course, if you're listening on motorsport.radio, the only 24/7 motorsports dedicated radio in the world, with live commentaries, interviews and shows from all things from four wheels to two. So yeah, plenty of places to get yourself some things here, so we can see some drifting going into the hairpin there.
Yeah, Charlie Nesbitt getting some sideways action into the hairpin. We've seen it done before there, and we saw how much he was enjoying his riding at Lydd last time out. So expect to see some more of that in the race. And that's a corner that we were talking about earlier on, that we'll see a lot of action this weekend, a lot of passing manoeuvres, a lot of sideways action like we've just seen, and possibly even some crashes down there.
Yeah, it's the best overtaking position on the circuit. A lot of riders have already stated that that's pretty much where they're expecting to see most of the action happen. But it's a track that really opens itself up for overtaking at almost every single corner. And we saw it Lydd, even in the tight, twisty circuit, that riders were getting it done all over the shop. So they're not scared to throw it up the inside or even try and get around the outside. So yeah, plenty of overtaking opportunities across the field. But one person that was doing it was actually Charlie Nesbitt, but it was on lapped cars, and he was fighting for lap bikes, and he was fighting his way through the pack.
Yeah, he's really strong, and expect to see some lap traffic as well this weekend with the circuit being so short. Not so much in this session, because all these riders are very, very close in times. I mean, the 10th at the moment is Cameron Horseman, and I wouldn't expect him to be lapped at all. So, but it's definitely something to watch out for in this session. Charlie Nesbitt also running in the pit bike 140, so you'll see how quickly he fights through the field as well. Eddie O'Shea now topping this session with a 38 flat. Still not quite as quick as he set earlier on, a 37.7 earlier on in qualifying one. So the pace a little bit slower in this session at the moment. And as Eddie O'Shea actually now at the side of the track, looks like has a technical issue. So not able to set any more laps at the moment. Eddie, we've got to hope that he can get that back up and running. Harvey Claridge now topping this session on a 38 flat, and I believe that's quicker than he went earlier on. So that should put him on the grid up into third place. Topping the session at the moment, but that'll put him third on the grid if it stays like this.
Yeah, with a 38.068, so 18 thousandths of a second faster than Eddie O'Shea and 23 thousandths of a second faster than Charlie Nesbitt. So that shows you just how close this pack is. And much like we saw with the MKGP 50s, the field are very close. And top three split by less than a quarter of a tenth of a second. That's an unbelievable close-knit field.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this race, because it's going to be a good one with all these riders really close together, but you can just see there Harvey Claridge just stopping on the side of the track to try and help Eddie O'Shea. So that's your Harvey Claridge topping this session with a 38 flat and stopping to help out Eddie O'Shea. It looks like Eddie O'Shea is back up and running and able to take that bike back to the pits, and hopefully everything will be sorted for him for the race later on, so we can see some exciting action in this class, just as we expect. But that's the flag is out now, so all the riders are coming back to the pits now. Harvey Claridge is then that tops that session. He'll be third on the grid because Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea earlier on dropped into the 37s, but a little wheelie from Claridge. He's happy with topping that session and to be fronting the second row of the grid.
Yeah, so good lap there from Harvey Claridge, the rider from Steyne, just outside Brighton. He does that 38.0 and gets himself, as you say, up onto the second row of the grid. But it was the 37s that were done by Charlie Nesbitt and Eddie O'Shea earlier on that put them in the best position, and that is on the front row of the grid on that run down to turn one. And the run down to turn one, it's not really a straight here. It's almost a continuous bend from the exit of the final corner. So it's obviously to be in pole position, or at least at the front few positions, that is, well, it usually is the best place to be, but for the riders here, obviously, you don't want to be starting on a bend.
Yeah, absolutely. We were looking at it on the track walk yesterday, weren't we? When you're right at the back of that grid, it's almost like you've got an extra corner to go before you cross the line. It's on a bend, and so you'd rather be up there. You'd always, like you say, you'd always rather be up the front of the grid. So it's good to it's better to be at the front. It's even more important at this round. So. The last qualifying session of the day then is the Mini GP70s, and they will be out next. Mini GP70s, really interesting class at the moment. Casey O'Gorman isn't here this weekend. We saw him, he was a front runner last time out. Johnny Garnett it is who's leading the championship. Lucas Brown 24 points behind, but judging by the form that Johnny Garnett has had this weekend, it looks like no one could catch him. No,
not yet finished off of the podium. So yeah, Johnny Garnett, very, very strong start to this season. 2 wins, 3 second places and a third place in the opening 2 rounds in a jam-packed weekend at Lydd, where we fit in round 1 and round 2, 48 races over 2 days, and luckily for these guys it's a little bit calmer, and as we're nestled in the Dorset countryside, just on the border of Somerset. But it is round 3 of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships, and yeah, it is set to be another stellar weekend racing, and we're expecting to see the likes of Johnny Garnett, perhaps Lucas Brown, and Mason Foster, Josh Bannister, the likes of those pushing in the GP70s, but it's going to be who can catch Johnny Garnett. Yeah, absolutely. In the qualifying 1 session we saw earlier on, Josh Bannister was really pushing Johnny Garnett, the number 57, at the front. He was quite close, getting as close as he could to the times of Johnny Garnett. Johnny Garnett got down to a 38.1, which was very close to the lap record actually, and Josh Bannister was the only one that could go with him into the 38s. There was still about a 0.6 of a second gap between Bannister and Garnett, so Bannister's going to be doing everything he can to try and get lower down in the 38s as Johnny Garnett sets another 38.3 to go fastest to stay fastest in this session at the moment. Still not quicker than his time earlier on, a 38.1. So he'll still be in pole position, and Josh Bannister will currently still be in a second because he's on a 38.7. Yeah, but it is a stunning lap so far for Johnny Garnett. He's got himself the only rider inside the 38s. You can see Lucas Brown has got a little bit of work. He goes a little bit quicker on that last lap, down dips into the 39 threes, so a little bit of work to get into those 38s and get close to Johnny Garnett, but Johnny Garnett's doing another faster 38.1. Ben Jolliffe jumps up into second position, almost a full second down on Johnny Garnett, but Johnny's pushing on the door of the 37s. Yeah, Johnny's doing really well. And another rider doing really well at the moment, Ben Jolliffe on a 39.1.
A good time from Ben Jolliffe. I believe that's quicker than he went earlier on. Johnny Garnes with another 38.1, so that's two 38.1s on the bounce. So he's on lap record pace, lap by lap. You're going to have to think that in the race he's going to be able to absolutely blitz it like this.
Yeah, it's really, really strong pace. But we were expecting this from him. We know the talent that he's got, and the rider that celebrated his birthday this weekend, and this is perfect for him as Ben Jolliffe does get into the 38s on a 38.961. So Ben Jolliffe, great lap from him. A lot better pace than what we saw at Lid.
Yeah, absolutely flying is Ben Jolliffe. We did see some promising pace as well from him at Lid, but wasn't quite able to make his way onto a podium. But that could all change this weekend. He's in a good place to do it. He'll be third on the grid as it stands. He's second in this session, but Josh Bannister set that 38.7 earlier on. Bannister seems to be struggling in this session at the moment, doing high 39s at the moment. So possibly we could see something from him later on as Ben Jolliffe sets another... Sorry, no, he doesn't. He goes... He's still on a 38.9. We can just see there the number 88 of Mason Foster. He's doing really well, really determined this weekend is Mason. We spoke to him earlier on in the weekend. 5th place currently for Mason Foster. He's still learning the way around the MK70 class. But another one to watch out for in the GP50s. He's absolutely flying in that one.
Yeah, definitely the GP50s, but we saw it at the final race of the weekend in Lid. He took a superlative victory in the rain, just absolutely dominated the field. So Mason Foster is not one to sleep on in this GP70 class. He's obviously, he's got a bit of work to do to close in, but, you know, he's still in the fight.
Yeah, no, brilliant stuff from Mason Foster, 5th place at the moment. Josh Bannister still seems to be struggling to put the pace down that he was doing earlier on. We could see him really pushing to try and get close to Johnny Garnes's 38.1. Still haven't quite broken under the lap record. They're very close with a 38.1. Johnny Garnes is just knocking on the door of that lap record, and you think that's probably going to go in the race later on. But it's still going to be, it's Ben Jolliffe still second in this session, but it's still going to be the number 2 of Bannister in second place, with Ben Jolliffe will be on the front of the second row in third.
Just over 2.5 minutes left to go in this final qualifying session for the MKGP 70 class. And just looking at Lucas Brown in third position. Now, we were talking about him earlier. He's a lot taller than some of the riders in this field. So what's the negative, what's the positive for Lucas when it comes to being a lot taller than your competitors?
Well, with Lucas on these small bikes, you can just see him in shot there. You can just see with the black leathers with the red flashes on his legs there. You can just see him trying to follow Johnny Garnes. You can see how much taller he is than a lot of these riders, especially the likes of Johnny Garnes, Mason Foster, and even Josh Bannister. So he's for this class, he's definitely quite a tall rider, and that will be hindering him down the straights. But we were saying earlier that this track, not a lot of straights. It's pretty much corner to corner to corner here. So this could be his best chance on the calendar. His extra height and his extra weight will help him a little bit in the corners and tighter, twistier stuff. He'll be able to muscle the bike around a little bit more, but if anything, his height will be more of a hindrance on these bikes. So he's doing really well. He's into the 38s in this session, third in this session, so brilliant stuff from him. He'll be fourth on the grid as it stands. As Mason Foster goes faster again, Mason Foster moves up into fourth place. So the number 88 we were just talking about sets a 39.3, so fourth place in this session. Brilliant stuff from him. So many names to keep an eye on. A bit further down, the number 61 of Harrison McKay, who's doing really well, a 40 flat for Harrison McKay, just ahead of the number 8 of Alfie Davidson and Clayton Edmonds, the 146. Holly Harris is in 9th. And Greg Marshall rounding out the grid in this session at the moment.
You can see Alfie Davidson in 7th position, making his debut for the season. Wasn't able to make round 1 and round 2, so good lap time so far for Alfie in 7th, not too far off the likes of Harrison McKay. And we've still got Johnny Garnes, the number 57, is still your provisional pole sitter, just ahead of Ben Jolliffe, the 125, and Lucas Brown, the number 29. Those three are the only ones to dip inside the 38. So, but it is Johnny Garnes with a pretty sizable gap at the moment between himself and second place.
Yeah, absolutely flying at the front is Johnny Garness, and what's even more impressive, Gareth, is his consistency. We saw how many low 38s he's been able to do. Everyone else is just sort of dipping into the 38s and just about making their way past that barrier, and he's just setting constant 38 lap times. His last lap was a 38.8, and that's still faster than anyone else on circuit. You can just see him in the screen there, the number 57. He's celebrating his pole position now as he has taken the flag, gives away. So Johnny Garness will take pole position. Ben Jolliffe second in this session. He'll be third overall, with Josh Bannister with a 38.8 he set later on. He'll line up alongside Johnny Garness. Lucas Brown third in this session. He'll line up fourth. So brilliant stuff from Johnny to constantly be in those 38s. It's going to be a tall order for anyone to catch him, but like we were saying earlier, this track tends to bunch the riders up, so we could very well see the likes of Josh Bannister, Lucas Brown, Ben Jolliffe try and give him a bit of a run for his money.
Yeah, the riders behind are definitely going to think that it's still there to be taken. Johnny Garness has still got definitely got the right position, but behind the likes of Lucas Brown, who was agonisingly close, only 0.07 of a second between himself and Ben Jolliffe. So Lucas Brown, good lap there from him.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from your front three in that session. The pace slightly slower in that one, although Johnny Garness still absolutely flying out the front. Brilliant ride from Ben Jolliffe ahead of Lucas Brown, Josh Bannister, the number 2, who did well earlier on. Number 88, Mason Foster, finished the session in 5th ahead of Alfie Davidson, Harrison McKay, Clayton Edmonds, Holly Harris in 9th place, and Greg Marshall, the number 19, rounding out your grid this weekend then.
Yep, so we are expecting the next round or the first round of races coming up very, very shortly. So expect to see the AC40 Pro Class on circuit very shortly. And it's looking as though it's going to be Ethan Sparks, the man to beat in that one.
Yeah, Ethan Sparks been absolutely flying in that one, so we'll expect to see him do well. Joshua Williams has been doing absolutely everything he can to get onto the back of Ethan Sparks, so the rivalry between those two really hotting up nicely, so that will be brilliant to see, and one to watch for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it will be the AC40 Pro Class for their first race of the weekend and our first race of the weekend from here at Clay Pigeon in Dorset for round 3 of the season of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship. My name is Gareth Hall, joined as always by Tristan Finocchiaro. We'll be bringing you wall-to-wall action throughout the season from here at FAB, and we've just got so much action and so much just quality racing, and so you're in store for an absolute treat if you join us throughout the season. Of course, you can do that by listening live on motorsport.radio, and of course, if you're joining us on Facebook or on YouTube for FAB Racing, a very warm welcome to the afternoon, and it's good to see you, and equally, hopefully you're dropping into the comments, and we're hoping that you have a very lovely afternoon watching the racing, as Tristan and as I will be. And we will be heading over very quickly to speak with Ethan Sparks. This is Motorsport Radio and FAB Racing. Gareth Hall here, speaking at Clay Pigeon Raceway for round 3 of the FAB Racing Minibike British Championships, speaking with Ethan Sparks after a really good weekend 2 weeks ago at Lyd. Are you feeling positive coming into this weekend?
Yeah.
So obviously 3 wins on the Saturday a couple of weeks ago. Was Lyd just a circuit you seem to work well with, or is it one that you just suited your ability?
It just suited my ability.
And let us know how you're thinking for this season. What are you looking at, particularly pushing in one of the classes over the other? Obviously, you look strong in the AC40 Pro class. What are you expecting over this season?
Well, I think I may win the championship in the AC40 Pros, and on the Mini GP 50s, maybe at least in the top 3. Really
good. And what's practice been like for you so far today? You feeling comfortable with the circuit? Very warm out there. Obviously, you seem to do really well in the sunshine in the first round at Lyd. So obviously, this might suit you once again.
Yeah.
And what's your goal moving forward after this season? Where are you looking at progressing to?
Pre-Moto 3.
Okay, really cool. And apart from that, have a really great weekend. It's been fantastic to speak to you. And Ethan Sparks, who will be racing this weekend here, FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships here from Clay Pigeon Raceway. Chatting with him yesterday afternoon, and he's got his eyes set on that championship in the AC40 Pros.
Yeah, and he's doing a brilliant job of it as well. He's taken more wins than anyone else. Josh Williams, though, is really trying to beat him to that number one spot. But he's got a hefty lead considering how early on it is in the championship. We'll be seeing them go out on track very shortly. The AC40 Pros will be going for their first race of the weekend here at Clay Pigeon Raceway. So a lot of exciting racing to be looking forward to.
Yeah, cannot wait for this one. And it's a very, very short season, trying to fit it all in a very, very short amount of time. And it only means that everyone is right on the pace for the entire time. No month-long breaks between the races. Plenty of action as we see the AC40 Pros now making their way around the circuit to come up to the grid. And you can see it's going to be, I imagine, a brilliant start to this one, because we've seen it already in practice. The likes of Ethan Sparks doing very nicely, and as you alluded to, several of the other riders such as Archie Gibbs and Joshua Williams doing very well indeed. And in fact, Archie Gibbs very, very strong so far in practice. So look to see Archie if he can get around to the grid to be pretty strong so far this to start off this weekend.
Yeah, looking really strong. Another rider looking really strong this weekend is Archie Gibbs. We saw how strong he was in practice earlier on. He set 42.8 earlier on in qualifying one, which is blistering pace. So he'll be lining up towards the front of this grid. But it will be currently Joshua Williams who's going to have the pole position at the moment, just lining up next to Archie Gibbs as they look to the flag and are ready to begin their warm-up laps at the moment.
Yep, it's Joshua Williams and Archie Gibbs on the front row, looking to the lights as we get ready to start race 3 here from Clay Pigeon. Engine notes rise and they're off and away. It's a great start there from Archie Gibbs, taking the lead into the first corner, and in fact Joshua Williams just tucking in behind him, but great start there from Archie.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Archie. He managed to capitalise on that pole position that he had and maintain that lead. Looks like he's already pulling out a bit of a gap as they head down into the hairpin for the first time. We know how strong Josh Williams is through hairpins, as we saw at Lyd, so possibly an opportunity for Josh to close that down. Still nothing to worry for Joshua Williams at the moment. Archie Gibbs has got a little bit of breathing space, but not a great gap at the moment. Be interesting to see how that one pans out as we look further down the grid. In your shot, that's Luke Fitchett down there, just battling for 9th and 10th down there. But back to the front, the number 3 of Archie Gibbs has got a brilliant start and just leads over Josh Williams. Josh Williams doing a good job to stay on the back of Archie Gibbs. We've seen how fast Gibbs has been this weekend. We're struggling from a few mechanical issues at the last one in Lyd. Was struggling with straight line speed, so hopefully they've got that sorted. Straight line speed not as important around this circuit, but they do assure us that that bike is sorted and we're ready to go for this round. And it's looking like it's working, because Archie Gibbs has got a brilliant lead at the front at the moment, but he's coming under pressure now from Joshua Williams, who sets the fastest lap so far on that last lap with a 43.2.
Yep, as Archie Gibbs looking very locked in on this one, but he is taking Joshua Williams with him. They've dropped the Ethan Sparks of 62 and 42 of Thori Trevorrow, so the pair of them starting to make a little breakaway, but it is Archie Gibbs who's seemingly taking his practice and qualifying pace into the race, but Joshua Williams all over the back of him, so not giving up on this one whatsoever, and Josh just kind of eyeing him up at the moment, just making sure he can find out where he can get that move done.
Yeah, Josh is just following at the moment. Just he's doing well to stay on the back of Archie, but and he's just trying to see where he can make that move, make a move stick later on in this race. There's plenty of laps to go, so there could very well be an exciting battle at the front of this one. Archie Gibbs, we have already seen him take a win last time out at Lydd. In the wet, but it was still a very good win from Archie Gibbs. He also picked up another podium that weekend, so looking to take his second win of the season, and also Williams looking to take his second win of the season. Williams doing really well in the championship, currently second place. Ethan Sparks, though, the man who dominated at Lydd, just seems to be struggling to stay on the back of these guys now, as we look further back at the number 91 of Archie O'Brien and the number 58 of Marco Holt. They're battling it out for 5th place, so a brilliant battle brewing further down the field as well. Luke Fitchett, you just see coming through your picture there, he's in 9th spot at the moment, just ahead of Bailey Lawrence. But Archie Gibbs doing a brilliant job out the front, Gary.
Yes, really, really good so far. As you can see, Marco Holt with that helmet that we've all become a big fan of so far this season. Of course, the Monsters Inc. inspired, but he is still closing in on Archie O'Brien. And Archie O'Brien maybe not showing the pace that we saw from him in round 1 and round 2. He was pushing towards race victories and podiums. At the moment, he's dropping off the pack a little bit, so I'm sure he'll be wanting to close in somewhat on Thori Trevorrow, who's a little bit further up the road, but it is Archie Gibbs that comes across the line and sets the fastest lap of 42.946. But the gap between himself and Joshua Williams is still at 0.2 of a second, and their lap times around last lap was split by less than half a tenth, so those two almost glued together at the hip.
Yeah, absolutely. Joshua is doing really well to stay on the back of Archie. They're still quite a bit of a way from the lap records in this race, but still setting a really good pace at the front of this one. So it looks like it's your breakaway leaders of Archie Gibbs and Joshua Williams who are going to battle it out until the final lap of this race. Ethan Sparks having a bit of a lonely battle there. That is the number 62. But with 3 laps to go of this race, he'll be happy to pick up points for the championship. He's got quite a big championship lead considering how early we are in this season. 42 points he has ahead of Joshua Williams. You can just see in shot there with the black leathers and black helmet just behind the number 3 of Archie Gibbs. Yet to make a move on Archie Gibbs, but you're going to think he's going to want to try, as he just has a little look there going into the left-hander, but it's just a matter of time before Joshua Williams has a go at Archie Gibbs.
Yeah, we're coming round to start the penultimate lap of this one. It's Archie Gibbs that's started and held on to the lead, but you can see Joshua Williams has got a really nice run behind him, and he's just going to try and eye him up. Of course, it's a very sweeping corner. Williams, no, quite just thinks about going to the inside, but Archie covers it off and takes the racing line into the S section. And Archie Gibbs, you can see, in fact, he's broken a little bit of a gap there. Joshua Williams perhaps just making a slight, outbreaking himself into turn 1, but it closes right back up onto the number 3 of Archie Gibbs as we come round with 2 corners left to go. As you can see, again, mighty close. Joshua Williams really starting to put the pressure on, but Archie Gibbs doing a really good job of defending and equally staying calm and looking in front.
Yeah, he's controlling the race beautifully at the front. He's not quite able to break away from Joshua Williams, as Williams is showing some superb pace as well. But Gibbs doing really well to keep Williams behind him at the moment as we look further back through the field once more. So they're the number 3, still leading ahead of the number 78 of Josh Williams with 1 lap to go of this race.
Yeah, as they come round to the hairpin, which is probably Josh's best overtaking option. He's only got a couple of corners left to go if he's going to get it, but there's a little bit of traffic up ahead of Archie Gibbs. Will this hinder him as he comes around to the final corner? And he's going to get held up a little bit, so this might, it looks as though he's going to get up the inside, and that might be curtains for this one. And that's perfect there for Archie Gibbs, who's going to make a run up to the line. Joshua Williams is going to try and go with him, but it's going to be Archie Gibbs across the line, taking the win. And what a race there for the young man. Really, really controlled. And Joshua Williams behind, I'm sure, will be delighted with that. Another decent result for him, just behind Archie Gibbs, but a really good fun battle between the pair to open the weekend. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. Archie Gibbs took his first dry win this year, and he looks absolutely delighted with it. So yeah, brilliant ride from Archie Gibbs, led from start to finish. So excellent stuff from him. Josh Williams will be happy with second place because that means he will be closing down the lead that Ethan Sparks has at the front at the moment. Ethan Sparks rounding out your podium then, a lonely podium for Ethan Sparks, but crucial points nonetheless. Archie O'Brien took 4th spot, the number 91, just ahead of number 42, Thorley Trevorrow. Number 58 of Marco Holt took 6th place ahead of the number 7 of Harry Payne, Bill Harris, Luke Fitchett and Bailey Lawrence rounding out the 10s. You can see it confirmed on your screen there. So it looks like we're having a few new names at the front of this race then, Gareth.
Yeah, and it's great to see because we saw Ethan Sparks dominating in lead, but you can see Archie Gibbs and Josh Williams pulling away by 5 seconds over that one. So really strong pace from the pair of them, and Archie Gibbs really amping up that pace that we saw in practice all throughout yesterday and into this morning, and translating it into a fantastic race result for race one of round 3, and he takes that victory by around a quarter of a second ahead of Joshua Williams. Ethan Sparks finishing on the podium, so adding to his growing collection of podiums so far this season.
Yeah, he's really tallying up those podiums, as is Joshua Williams. Archie Gibbs doing brilliant to recover from those issues he had last time out. Up then will be the AC40 rookies. This is the class, this is the feeder series for the AC40 Pros. So all the riders in this category in their first season of racing, and they'll be looking to join the likes of Ethan Sparks, Josh Williams, Archie Gibbs, later on in the future. So once they've proved they have what it takes to move into the pros, they will move out of this rookies category. But still some very exciting racing in the rookies nonetheless, with a share of wins last time out at Lydd, with Byron Johnson taking one of them, Austin Johnson taking 3, Finley Polhill taking 2, and many different names on the podium. Harrison Day took a couple of podiums, as well as Freddie Bridewell. So some familiar names on this grid as well, Gareth.
Yeah, and it was some of the racing we saw, especially in difficult conditions. And you've got to remember, a lot of these riders are 6 years old, so to put them in really, really poor conditions was very tricky indeed. But for the likes of Austin Johnson, Byron Johnson especially, the pair of them had a brilliant first 2 weekends, and they're starting their warm-up lap. And it's Austin Johnson and Byron Johnson that will be looking at probably improving their positions in the championship, because Austin, I believe he had a heartbreaking, was leading by about 12 seconds in Lydd and stopped late on, but he did manage to claw back some decent points. But yeah, we'll be watching out for the likes of Austin Johnson, Byron Johnson, and equally Finley Polhill, who had some very, very strong finishes just a few short weeks ago at Lydd for round 1 and round 2. A lot of racing in a short space of time for these riders in the AC40 rookie class.
Yeah, for their first ever weekend of racing, it was definitely a hectic one, with 2 rounds in one weekend. They had loads of races to contend with, but it was Finley Polhill, Austin Johnson, Byron Johnson, who pretty much dominated at the front. We did see some of the names like Harrison Day, Freddie Bridewell, just make their way into some podiums a couple of times, and they'll be looking to do that again here as we're ready to get underway for race 1 of round 3 for the AC40 rookies class. This is the first time they'll have raced at this circuit, as their eyes go to the lights for race 1 here, and they're away. A brilliant start there from Johnson as he takes the lead down into turn 1. There are 3 abreast. Now going into turn 2, you can see Freddie Bridewell there just slotting into 4th spot. So it's Johnson that leads ahead of Finley Polhill at the moment. It looks as if they're already breaking away slightly. Yeah, great start there for the top 2, and Finley Polhill equally getting a really decent launch off the line and taking Freddie Bridewell with him. But it is Austin Johnson in the lead of this one, the number 27. But Finley Polhill all over the back of him going into the final stages of this first lap. Finley Polhill, a really, really decent first set of results in the first 2 rounds of the weekend.
And he's got a nice run there on Austin Johnson. Austin Johnson equally a really good weekend, and he was delighted after the weekend with his results. But it is Finley Polhill that is 0.2 of a second behind him, and did the fastest lap on that. So Finley already looking strong. Austin just about holding on to this lead.
Yeah, and whilst doing that, these riders are learning all the time. This is the first time they've raced on a circuit that isn't lid, so learning their way around a completely different style of circuit here at Clay Pigeon Raceway. So learning all the time. Further down the field, you see Freddie Bridewell in there, but it's Austin Johnson and Finley Polhill at the front of this race. Still quite a few laps to go in this one, so plenty of time for some action and a battle brewing for the lead. A battle brewing for third place there is as Byron Johnson looks really menacing on Harrison Day at the moment. So Byron Johnson just looking like he was having a look up the inside into turn 2. Not quite sure if he made that one stick. But Austin Johnson it is then who's starting to pull away at the front of this one. Finley Polhill doing all he can to go with him, but hasn't quite got the pace at this point in the race. But a battle for third brewing really nicely now, as Harrison Day is currently leading that one ahead of Byron Johnson and Freddie Bridewell in 5th place at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure Byron will be wanting to close in and pass Harrison as quickly as possible, because he won't be wanting to let Austin move away. And Austin, of course, brother of Byron, as he's going to be trying to close and pass Harrison down the pit straight. He goes to the inside and gets the move. It looks like though he's going to get the move stuck down towards turn 1. So nice move there from Byron Johnson. It came across the line in 3rd position. So yeah, great overtake there from Byron. Just got a better launch out the final corner and moves up into 3rd place. But it is Austin Johnson that leads this one, ahead of Finley Polhill. Byron Johnson in 3rd, Harrison Day in 4th, Freddie Bridewell in 5th, with Travis Shaw in 6th, Lewis Hull in 7th, with Oliver Hall in 8th, Zach Panegar in 9th, and Chloe Sewell in 10th.
Yeah, Finley Polhill now looking really menacing up onto the back of Austin Johnson. He's closed that gap right down, right onto the back wheel of Austin. So a 47.3 on that last lap. So that's the fastest lap of the race so far. But Austin Johnson matching him for pace with a 47.4 as they come across the line again, both with almost identical times that time across the line. As we look a bit further back there, of the number 4 of Travis Shaw in his 2nd weekend of racing, the number 5 of Lewis Hull down in 7th position. But Austin Johnson and Finley Polhill at the moment absolutely matching each other for pace, and Finley Polhill trying everything he can to find a way through on Austin Johnson. He's doing really well to sort of stay calm and not rush through on a move on Austin at this point in the race. Still 4 laps to go, so plenty of time for a battle between these two to brew. Yeah,
exactly what we saw in the previous race, the AC40 Pro class, with these riders not being rash, not making silly mistakes earlier on, as across the line comes Austin Johnson. Finley Polhill split by a 10th and a half, whereas Byron Johnson is really starting to eat into that time. Just set a fastest lap with a time of 7/10 of a second faster than anyone else. So Byron Johnson is pushing. We've only got 3 laps left to go in this one, and it is Austin Johnson holding off Finley Polhill. But Finley Polhill just staying in the tyre tracks of Austin Johnson and just shaping up where he can get that move done. And both have already been race winners so far this season as they navigate some traffic. And but I'm sure you can see Byron Johnson really closing up now. That's the 3 of them all in the same shot.
Yeah, we saw this from Byron at Lyd as well. He'd struggled towards the beginning of the race and really closed down the lead, and would always have some really good pace towards the end of the race, and we're seeing it again from him. So he's managed to close down Finley Polhill and Austin Johnson, and he'll be looking for a win in this race. So your top 3 at the moment locked in a battle for the win. Freddie Bridewell distant 4th at the moment. We're battling it out with Harrison Day at the moment, but it's all about this battle at the front. The 27 of Austin Johnson is clinged onto the lead for the whole race so far. 2 laps to go for these guys, and we have a rider down there, but Austin Johnson is still at the front. That's the number 134 of Zach Panegar, who's gone down. He'll be looking to get back and rejoin this race. All is still the same at the front, although Byron Johnson looking really menacing behind Finley Polhill, also getting really close as 3 abreast going into turn 1. Byron Johnson just clipped the grass on the inside there, so brilliant stuff from Byron Johnson. Finley Polehill trying to go around the outside of Austin Johnson, not going to work through there. What's going to happen down into the hairpin? This is the final lap of this race. Byron Johnson looking menacing. Byron Johnson at the inside of Finley Polehill, but Finley Polehill just about hangs onto it as they go down into the left-hander. And it is Finley Polehill that still has second place. But all this battling is letting Austin Johnson just cling away a bit of a lead now as they go into the final corner. So it's all about who's going to get second. Will it be Finley Polehill or will it be Byron Johnson? It's between these two, and it's going to be a drag to the line. Finley Polehill looks like he's going to take, so Austin Johnson takes the win ahead of Finley Polehill and Byron Johnson. So an exciting last lap, but all stayed the same.
Yeah, the top three split by 0.2 of a second across the line, and that worked out perfectly for Austin Johnson because Byron and Finley swapping positions over those final two hairpins in the last lap. What a move for the youngster to send up the inside number 37 Byron Johnson, but Finley calm and composed and just went back underneath him at the second hairpin and held onto it across the line. But what a brilliant way to start the AC40 rookie round 3 weekend, and these riders really calm, really composed, and equally you can see Austin Johnson very happy indeed, and so he should be, because that is another win on the season for him. And equally Finley Polehill, Byron Johnson will equally be happy. More podiums to add to the collection that they picked up in Lid for a fortnight ago. But it is Austin Johnson, your race winner for this one of the AC40 rookie class here at Clay Pigeon, round 3 of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship. Finley Polehill in second, Byron Johnson in third, Freddie Bridewell in fourth, with Harrison Day finishing in fifth, Travis Shaw in sixth, with Lewis Hull in seventh, Oliver Hall in eighth, with Chloe Sewell in ninth, and Callum Maxwell finishing in 10th position.
And all the lap times on that last lap really close, all in the 47.6s on that last lap. But Byron Johnson had some terrific pace at the end there. You can see 46.8, quite a bit faster than anyone else, and that's how he got right up onto the back of Finley Polehill and Austin Johnson. Wasn't quite able to make a move stick on either of those, but brilliant stuff from your top three. Freddie Bridewell it was who clinched 4th place ahead of Harrison Day and Travis Shaw there, just rounding out your top 5. Next up then, it will be the GP0 and MGP 140 race. This is a one-off race for this weekend, replacing the sidecars for this weekend. So 4 riders, I believe, on this grid, all running the Ovala machine. So will be an interesting one to see what's going to happen here. It was Josh Bannister who was having a good run out earlier on, and I believe he's taken his lines up second on the grid at the moment.
Yep. These 4 bikes, very noisy and very fun to watch in practice, and we'll see what they can do with the four bikes on track. So whilst there's only 4 bikes, the action will be no less intense. You can imagine with 4 bikes and 3 podium positions on offer, you want to make sure that you're inside that top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be. It's going to be 3 riders absolutely battling it out, but it looks as if your riders at the front, Josh Bannister and Henry McCartney, were the ones to watch in qualifying, considerably faster than the rest of the field. So it's looking like it's going to be a battle for the win between those two, and Warwick Brady and Monty Hillier going to battle out for the final position. But anything can happen here. Any of these riders can make their way and battle it out on the top step of this race, as they all look to the lights for the first race of the GP0 and MGP 140s. So they get away, clean start there for Josh Bannister, but it's Henry McCartney that holds the lead at the moment. Josh Bannister looking menacing in second. Still early days. It's Warwick Brady still in 3rd place. They've just eked out a lead over the 37 of Monty Hillier. So a battle for first at the moment brewing between these 3 riders.
Yeah, really good start there from Henry McCartney, just about holding on to the lead with Josh Bannister and Warwick Brady, the number 2 and the number 99 just behind, and the rider in the colourful leathers at the front is going to be leading across the line. And you can see the top three already breaking themselves a pretty sizable gap over Montehilia in third position. But Henry McCartney doing a 41.7 off the start, whilst Josh Bannister with a 42.2. So yeah, it's a half a second gap and then a second back to Warwick Brady. So great start there from number 31.
Yeah, brilliant, perfect start for him, just eking out a little bit of a lead at the front. It was very close between these two in qualifying, so be interested to see what Josh Bannister can do about the pace of Henry McCartney at the front. Warwick Brady doesn't quite look like he has the pace to stay on the back of these guys at the moment, but looking safe for third place. So as they come across the line for the second time, Henry McCartney is at only 0.3 of a second ahead of Josh Bannister at the moment. So Josh Bannister definitely not letting Henry McCartney get away at this point in the race.
No, and even with 4 riders on track, they still want to win. Everyone wants to win. You don't get on a circuit unless you want to win, and Henry McCartney is in prime position to do that. In fact, down goes Josh Bannister, so out of second position. So that promotes Warwick Brady up into third, and Montehilia up into second, and Montehilia into third. So you can see Josh struggling to get the bike up there, and that's allowed Henry McCartney to break away, and he's going to have a huge lead now across the line with Warwick Brady in second and Montehilia in third. So yeah, disaster there for the number 2.
Yeah, really unlucky for Josh Bannister. His first race of the weekend, and he goes down on the third lap of this one. So Henry McCartney has got quite a sizable lead now. So this is played right into Henry's hands now. So he doesn't have to push too hard at the moment. He's got a nice sizable gap. Last time across the line, the leader you can see in your picture there. So he's got a quite a sizable gap over Warwick Brady and Montehilia now in third place.
Yeah, this is the first race of the GP0 and NGP 140s, and it is Henry McCartney that is in the lead this one, the rider from Sevenoaks in Kent, and he's doing a fantastic job of showing off that bike on screen. You see a yellow flag out there still for the bike that was down at the hairpin. Such an easy mistake to do. We were speaking to a few of the riders earlier, and they said that's the corner where we were expecting to see people go down, a majority compared to the rest of the circuit. So obviously that's now claimed its first victim.
Yeah, turn 3 there on the circuit. That's we've been talking about it all weekend, really, haven't we? We expect to see a lot of moves there, and unfortunately a lot of crashes. And it's there is Josh Bannister there, just sat at the side of the circuit. So it's claimed its first victim of the day has turn 3. So very unfortunate stuff for Josh Bannister. He'll be looking to put that one straight in the next one. We'll also see him later on in a few other classes in the LC40 Elites and also in the GP70 category. So he'll be back out later on, so be sure not to miss that one. Warwick Brady, we're just looking at there in second place. Henry McCartney now just stretching this lead at the front. Brilliant pace from him, 40.4 on that last lap, with Warwick Brady coming across. We're on a 40.99 now, so a brilliant pace from Warwick Brady also, but not enough to close down your leader at this point in the race.
No, not yet. It's looking though, Henry McCartney, as long as he can keep it pointing in the right direction, will be picking up this first victory of the weekend. And what have you got in store for you for the rest of today? Well, up next will be the senior mini motos. They'll be making their first outing here at Clay Pigeon. After that, we've got the LC40 Elites, the PB40 PB140s and moto teams will be heading out around 3:50 p.m. and then we'll be finishing off with 3 races from the MKGP50s, the Extreme 200s, and finishing off the day at 4:50 p.m. with the MKGP70s. So plenty more of action here from FAB-Racing over the rest of the day as they all complete their first races of the weekend. 2 more races for each class tomorrow. So we've got 3 laps left to go on this one, and it's Henry McCartney leading by a pretty healthy distance over Warwick Brady in second. Montehilia, who we were saying earlier, you've got to be in it to win it, and it's looking as though he's going to pick up a podium.
Yeah, Monty's going to be really happy with that. The first podium for the first race for these guys. So Henry McCartney will pick up his first win if all stays like this as well. Warwick Brady, you can just see there, barreling into turn 1 with 2 laps to go of this race. Henry McCartney's got a brilliant lead now at the front, 6.8 seconds over Warwick Brady across the line. So the number 31 of Henry McCartney absolutely flying out the front there, controlling the pace beautifully out the front as Warwick Brady also putting in some very decent lap times, matching Henry McCartney for pace on that last lap, but just a bit too far away to be able to catch him up at this point as Henry McCartney goes on to start the final lap of the first race for the GP0 and the MGP 140 race 1.
Yep. But it is going to be Henry McCartney, if all things go to plan, that will be coming across the line very, very shortly. And he's on the last lap. And Henry McCartney has really enjoyed a pretty strong lead throughout this one. He's going to come around the final 2 corners, and Henry McCartney, as he starts the final corner as this special exhibition race here at Clay Pigeon, and he's controlled it from the start and comes across the line. What a win from him. Controlled, calm, and just exactly what you want to do to start off your weekend. And Henry McCartney taking the victory. Warwick Brady comes across the line in 2nd position, and Monty Hillier will be coming across the line very shortly to pick up the 3rd and final spot on the podium.
Yeah, he looks delighted with that, does Henry McCartney there. The first race of the weekend done for him, and his first race win in this category. So brilliant stuff from him at the front with the brightly coloured leathers there. So he'll be very, very happy with that position. But you've got to think, Gareth, really unfortunate for Josh Bannister. He was really pushing and matching the pace of Henry McCartney at the front. So you got to feel like we were slightly stolen of a battle for first place there. Yeah,
it was starting to brew up nicely there, and you can see Josh Bannister was walking back to the pit lane, slightly dejected on that one because going down at the hairpin, just couldn't quite get the bike restarted, and he's going to have to refresh himself for tomorrow's race. But that was the first race of the weekend for the GP0 and MGP 140s, and it was won by Henry McCartney ahead of Warwick Brady and Monty Hillier in 2nd and 3rd position. Up next, we have got the senior mini motos, and we've got a really strong grid this season, and one rider that did spectacularly well in both conditions last round was Bernie Hook.
Yeah, Bernie Hook took 2 wins last time out and 5 podiums, so he only missed out on a podium in one of the races last time out in Leeds. So brilliant stuff from Bernie Hook, and he'll feel like it's Christmas come early for him this weekend with no Will Howarth here this weekend. He was absolutely flying last time out at Leeds, picking up more wins than anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for tuning in, whether you're at the paddock, wherever you're listening live on motorsport.radio, or you're watching on Fab Racing's YouTube or Facebook page. This is the Fab Racing Minibike British Championships from Clay Pigeon in Dorset, and we will be bringing you action throughout the weekend here. We've got all the first races of the weekend through till about 5 o'clock tonight, and then tomorrow we've got 2 more races from each class, so plenty of action throughout the weekend. And of course you can find it all on social media, and equally get in touch with us. If you're watching at home, let us know who you're supporting, who you're watching out for, and you can do that by going into the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and of course follow all the channels. But we've got the senior mini motos now lining up on the grid, a little bit smaller as they head out for their formation lap. But it's Bernie Hook on pole position, Holly Harris in 2nd. Now, she said that she's really enjoying this step up to the senior mini motos.
Yeah, she moved up at the last round at Lid from the LC40 Elites, and so brilliant stuff from her to move up into this category, and really enjoying her mini moto racing at the moment. She'll line up 2nd on the grid and absolutely attached to the lap times of Bernie Hook at the moment, so we could see a brilliant battle between those two for the win. So Holly Harris absolutely flying this weekend Bernie will have to contend with the number 0 of Bernie Hook, though, your championship leader. He's picked up 2 wins earlier on this season at Lid, so he's not shy of race-winning pace at all. So it's going to be between those two at the front.
Yep, but it's going to be Bernie Hook and Holly Harris off the front row of the grid. Who can get a good run down to the first corner? You see the red lights come on and out, and it's a good start there for Bernie Hook. Lifts the front tyre, but that doesn't stop him getting a good launch down towards turn 1. Holly Harris is going to try and stick into second position. Just about holds on to it with Andy Whedon on her tail. But yeah, great start there from Bernie Hook, already breaking away by a good second or so. Holly Harris has got a swarm of other bikes behind her.
Yeah, Andy Whedon just behind, looking really menacing there. Almost contact made at the second corner. So Holly Harris is going to have to cover her lines and make sure she can keep those riders behind. But Bernie Hook absolutely flying out the front. Your championship leader edging out a massive gap on this first lap. So brilliant stuff from him. But it's about the battle for second place at the moment. A 3-rider battle at the moment between Holly Harris, Andy Whedon and Nick Bennett at the moment.
Yep, Nick Bennett moving up into third position in that first lap. So Bernie Hook, you can see on the timing screens, already with a 1.7 second advantage over Holly Harris. So he started this race on a lightning in a bottle style and leaving Holly in his dust. So yeah, Bernie Hook, great start for the number 0 machine. And yeah, as we were saying on the formation lap, this is a perfect weekend for him. No Will Howarth, equally no Matt or Josh Birkin. So this is where he needs to extend his championship lead, because it could be almost insurmountable by the end of it if he can pick up perhaps even 3 wins.
Yeah, if Bernie Hook can rack up the wins here this weekend, he'll have quite a sizable championship lead at the front. His gap at the front at the moment is 25 points. So with no Matt Birkin or Will Howarth here, if he wins that one, it'll go up to 50 points. So it'll be really difficult for anyone to catch him in the championship. Also, with 2 more races after this one to go. So Bernie Hook in with a real good chance of stretching out that championship lead. We saw how fast Will Howarth was at Lid, but unfortunately had a couple of DNFs. He took more wins than anyone, but it was Bernie Hook who was more consistent, consistently on the podium. Has finished on the podium in every race he's been in this year, apart from one. So that consistency in constantly scoring good points is what has given him that championship lead, and he's just stretching it out now. 43.6 on that final lap, the fastest lap of the race, a second faster than anyone else, and just absolutely commanding the pace at the front. 3.7 seconds is the lead that Bernie Hook has now over Holly Harris. So absolutely controlling it at the front beautifully. Yep,
and if you missed any of the action from Lid 2 weeks ago, I implore you to go back and watch it on YouTube or Facebook on FAB-Racing's page, because the senior mini motos had it all. They had dry, they had wet, they had almost monsoon-like conditions out on circuit, and it was incredible fun watching them, and they had a lot of fun out there as well. As you can see, side by side there for the number 47 and the number 137 Ashton Dean, as they fight over 5th and 6th position. But it is Bernie Hook now with a 4.7 second advantage over Holly Harris. She's got into the groove a little bit. She's dropped Nick Bennett by 1.2 seconds, who's equally got a second's gap back to Andy Whedon in 4th place. But it's Bernie Hook that is looking almost nailed on for this one if he can keep it on 2 wheels.
Yeah, and the consistency that he's running as well is his best time of 43.6, and then set another 43.6 on that last lap. So not only is he able to put a pace faster than anyone else, he's able to do it really consistently there, and just that pace that is consistently faster than everyone else is just edging out that gap. 5.1 seconds it was over the line on that last lap. Quite away from the lap record, though, the 42.3 set by Bernie Hook, actually. So we know how quick he is around here, as he does hold the lap record, and doesn't seem like anyone can catch him in this race. Holly Harris will be delighted to pick up second place. She's gapped Nick Bennett by quite some way at the moment, ahead of 4th place Andy Whedon, with 4 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, but it is going to plan for Bernie Hook so far, and you can see, obviously, Senior Mini Motos is the name of this class. So How do these riders have to ride the bike differently to the riders that we've seen, maybe the LC40 Elites, the AC Pros? Because obviously that's a bike more their size. So obviously the adults having to change their riding style.
Well, to be honest, I don't know how they fit on them half the time. I don't think I'd be flexible enough to fit on a mini moto anymore. But it's brilliant to see. It's almost like we were talking about earlier on with Lucas Brown in the GP70 category, because these riders are a bit taller and a bit bigger. They will be heavier, which will hinder them down the straights. But obviously they're all fairly similar sized, so they'll be slower down the straights than your little riders that you see in the junior classes here this weekend, but also it'd be easier for them to muscle the bikes around with more weight on those bikes as well. So it's great to see them having fun on these little bikes. From 14 and older, you can run in this category. No age cap on these riders. A lot of these riders relatively senior in the world of racing, as we see a rider down there on the far end of the circuit, just coming back to the pits. So an unfortunate end to the race there for, I believe that's a 137 of Aston Dean.
But it is Bernie Hook still leading this one with 2 laps left to go. On screen you see the number 15, Holly Harris, and she's currently in for a podium, and she's circulating behind around about 5.5 seconds, 5.7 seconds behind Bernie Hook, who has controlled this one from the front since the start, and he's looking on for a really decent one. We're on to the final lap of the race, and it's Bernie Hook that is leading this one, and he has enjoyed, well, a race of his own, we'll say.
Yeah, he's absolutely destroyed the field at the front as Bernie Hook, as he comes round the final corner for the final time of asking. Bernie Hook are comfortable. He's just cruising around the final corner now. He knows he's got that one in the bag. He takes the win. He takes the 25 points and extends his championship lead by quite some margin, with no Matt Birkin and no Will Howarth here this weekend. Holly Harris to take a brilliant second place, her first podium in this championship. So brilliant stuff from her, moving up into this class from the LC40 Elites. And there we see Holly Harris to the number 2, number 15 in second position. Brilliant ride from Holly Harris to take her first podium this weekend, just ahead of the number 711 of Nick Bennett in third place. Yeah,
that's got to really help her spirits, help her confidence moving forward. Obviously, she made the step up into the senior mini motos halfway through round 1. Decided for round 2 that she wanted to step up into the seniors due to being somewhat taller than the rest of the riders. But yeah, a fantastic result for her, picking up a debut podium here in the senior mini motos. And but equally, it is Bernie Hook that takes that victory ahead of Holly and Nick Bennett in third place. So no Will Howarth, no Josh or Matt Birkin. So job done for Bernie Hook for race 1.
Yeah, he'll be happy with that. He's extended his championship lead by another 25 points with your second and third place in the championship not there. So a brilliant race for the senior mini moto championship, and a brilliant race from Bernie Hook and Holly Harris.
Yep, and obviously with I'm sure Will Howarth and the Birkins watching on at home, thinking that's the last person I wanted to take the victory, and they'll be hoping that Holly Harris can potentially be pushing on for later on in the weekend. And thank you everyone for joining us this weekend. My name is Gareth Hall, joined by Tristan Finocchiaro, and we will be bringing you action all throughout the weekend here from Clay Pigeon Raceway in Dorset, and it's the third round of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. 2 rounds completed in Lydd 2 weeks ago, and we've got a weekend of action here from Dorset. Now on track we have got the LC40 Elite class. Now this is a liquid-cooled 40cc engine, and we've got the likes of Ryan Hitchcock, who he's the lap record holder on the GP50s and GP70s around this circuit. So he's now moved back onto the mini bikes, and we'll see if he can go for a clean sweep and try and take that one.
Yeah, he's a name we've seen in these classes before. He's moving up into British Talent Cup as well this year, so he's a star returning to the class. And we saw that he was absolutely class act last time out at Lyd, picking up a couple of wins there, starting from the back of the grid on the Friday, picking up some second places and then some wins on the Sunday for round 2. So expect to see him fast and up the front. But Charlie Huntingford also there. He's in second place in the championship. Expect to see him trying to climb up through the field. Samuel Munson as well, the number 72, just in shot, and Josh Bannister will all be looking to try and catch Ryan Hitchcock at the front. But all of these guys have explained to us how much this track invites close racing and really bunches up the pack around here. So we could very well see a good battle for the win between all these riders.
Yep. And it was a very, very strong qualifying for a number of these riders, and it's going to be an incredibly tight field throughout this season, and you can't really see anyone stretching a gap out. So expect to see it all in this one, the LC40 Elites, as we've got the number 76 there on screen, and that is Charlie Huntingford in the multicoloured bike and the red and white and black lid there. And it is Ryan Hitchcock on the pole with Samuel Munson in second, Charlie Huntingford in third, Josh Bannister fourth as they look to lights, and out they go. It's a good start there from Ryan Hitchcock and Samuel Munson in first and second position. And behind you can see Charlie Huntingford just swept around the inside and loses the lead, and up into the lead of the race goes Ryan Hitchcock.
Yeah, Ryan Hitchcock did really well to read that move from Charlie Huntingford. Charlie Huntingford went up the inside, ran it slightly wide, and Hitchcock would manage to turn it back on him and get back underneath him, and is now stretching out a little bit of a lead already at the front of this race. Samuel Munson was then looking really menacing behind Charlie Huntingford as well. As you just see further back there, the number 3 of Archie Gibbs. He's actually running in this category on an air-cooled 40cc bike, so a bit down on power is Archie Gibbs. But back to the front then, Ryan Hitchcock absolutely flying at the front of this race, 43.5 off of the line, and a 0.7, almost 0.8 second of a lead over the line for Ryan Hitchcock. So it's all about what can Charlie Huntingford and Samuel Munson do to catch down Ryan Hitchcock. The number 2 of Josh Bannister in fourth place, also looking really menacing on the back wheel of Samuel Munson. So perhaps a battle for second also hotting up there, as you can just see the number 76 of Charlie Huntingford holding on to second position at the moment, ahead of the number 72 of Samuel Munson and the number 2 of Josh Bannister. Yeah,
Ryan Hitchcock started to check out at the front. That's a 1.1 second lead. He's just built himself after the second lap. Charlie Huntingford in second, Samuel Munson in third, Josh Bannister in fourth, Joshua Williams in fifth, Archie O'Brien in sixth, Thorley Trevorrow in seventh, Marco Holt in eighth, Archie Gibbs in ninth, and Casey Sperry in 10th position. Luke Fitchett in 11th, and Warwick Brady in 12th place. But it is Ryan Hitchcock, really dominant start to this one. You can see fastest laps already. We're starting to break away. 1.1 second gap already over Charlie Huntingford, who's going to have to start to fight off Samuel Munson and Josh Bannister. So that's going to really help out Ryan with the battle between Charlie and Sam and Josh starting to heat up.
Yeah, Josh Bannister now looking really on the charge and looking to find a way past Samuel Munson. He tried it at the S's last time around, but Munson was able to read it and get back ahead of him. So Josh Bannister now looking really keen to try and get through on the number 72, Samuel Munson, as Charlie Huntingford now is stretching out a bit of a lead over Samuel Munson and Josh Bannister. So it'll be interesting to see if they can claw that back down. A lonely second place at the moment for Huntingford, but Bannister looking like he thinks he's got the pace to go and catch him and wanting to get through the number 72 of Samuel Munson. Joshua Williams doing a brilliant job in fifth spot on the number 78. He's just on the back of the shot and just trying to cling on to these guys. A rider who we saw earlier on in the AC40 Pros, front runner in that class, and just learning his way on the with more power in the LC40 Elites.
Yeah, but it's Ryan Hitchcock leading this one. He picked up 2 wins at round 2, the number 43, and he picked up his 2 and only wins of the season in the wet, in the more difficult conditions, you'd think. in round 2 compared to Charlie, Sam and Josh in 2nd, 3rd and 4th, who all picked up a victory on the Saturday in the dry. So Ryan is adept at clearly doing it in both. He can do it in dry conditions, as we're seeing right now, and very strong in the wet, from what we saw in Lid a few weeks ago. And he's leading now by 2.1 seconds. Charlie Huntingford starting to break away from Samuel Munson, who's got Josh Bannister all over the rear end of him. Just 0.3 of a second splits the number 72 and the number 2 of Samuel Munson and Josh Bannister.
Yeah, you can just see Ryan Hitchcock looking over his shoulder as he was going through the far end of this circuit, just trying to see where Charlie Huntingford and Samuel Munson are. Well, they're 2 seconds further back, so you can take a bit of a breather at the moment, Ryan, with 3 laps to go of this race as he comes through the first section. Ryan Hitchcock doing such a good job at the front to just control the pace. He got down into the 41 to 41.8 for Ryan Hitchcock, which is really close to the lap record of a 41.7. So absolutely flying at the front, as it just looks like that's Archie Gibbs at the side of the circuit there. Looks like he's gone down and slightly disappointed and perhaps a little bit winded from that crash, as Ryan Hitchcock comes back into your shot there. The number 43 coming to cross the line to start the penultimate lap of this race. 2 laps to go for Ryan Hitchcock, with Charlie Huntingford a distant second and looking to come under a little bit of pressure now from Samuel Munson, who's not too far behind now. Yeah.
Samuel Munson looking very strong in the late stages of this one, really closing in on Charlie Huntingford, and the pair of them wanting to swap positions because they're very, very close in the championship. The championship was, the top 3 of Ryan Hitchcock, Charlie Huntingford and Samuel Munson was split by 2 points, with Ryan Hitchcock on 90, Charlie on 90 and Samuel Munson on 88. So that's how close it is, and the 3 of them are all in the top 3 in this one. So that shows how strong they are going to be over this one as Ryan Hitchcock crosses the line to start his final lap here for race 1 of the weekend from Clay Pigeon. And he's done it in sensational style, leading at the front. He's got a 4-second gap now over Charlie Huntingford, who is doing his best to hold off Samuel Munson. The gap now half a second between Charlie and Sam for 2nd and 3rd. So Sam, he's got to get a move on if he's to close in, but it's going to be Ryan Hitchcock if all goes to plan as he comes up to the final corner of this one. Ryan Hitchcock has led from the front and absolutely controlled this one. And what a win he's going to take to open his account here at Clay Pigeon. Comes across the line, takes the victory, arm up in the air, delighted with his weekend so far. And Ryan Hitchcock takes it. Samuel Munson does get Charlie Huntingford on the line by 1/10 of a second. There was a drag to the line, and Samuel Munson steals it from Charlie and takes it away. So it's going to be Ryan Hitchcock with Samuel Munson in 2nd, Charlie Huntingford just beaten to 2nd place, finishes in 3rd, Josh Bannister in 4th, and Joshua Williams back in 5th.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Samuel Munson right at the end. You can see how happy he is there, just celebrating with Ryan Hitchcock. Brilliant to take 2nd away from Charlie Huntingford right at the end. Charlie Huntingford should be happy with 3rd place, though. His 4th podium of the year for the number 76. So brilliant stuff from all of these guys. There it is then. Ryan Hitchcock took the win with a 3.9 second lead over Samuel Munson, ahead of Charlie Huntingford, Josh Bannister in 4th, and Joshua Williams in 5th place. Archie O'Brien it was who took 6th, ahead of Thorley Trevorrow, Marco Holt, Luke Fitchett and Archie Gibbs, who unfortunately didn't finish the race.
Great result there from Ryan Hitchcock. Really controlled, really just a decent drive from him. Did exactly what was needed to pick up the result. And behind, the plaudit goes to Samuel Munson, never giving up. Half a second down to start the last lap and comes back and steals it on the line. So I'm sure Charlie will be pretty gutted with that one, because he'd done a really good job to hold off Samuel until the last moment and just on the line. So you've got to think it will be... I'm sure Charlie will be coming out with fire in his eyes for race 2 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, he'll be looking to put one on Samuel Munson tomorrow. But now out on the grid is the Pit Bike 140s and Moto team. So a lot of action expected from this one. So a few big names at the front. You just see there on the grid, Cameron Horseman. So a few BSB names on this one, Gareth, just as there was at Lid. We saw some brilliant battles between Charlie Nesbitt and Brad Ray over at Lid, and we could expect to see some brilliant battles all through the field in this one. Packed grid for these guys, so expect to see some a bit of argy-bargy in this one.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, this one. So you might want to turn your TVs, your laptops, your tablets, turn them up, because it's going to get very loud and it's going to be so thrilling. It was so much fun watching them make their way around Lid, and I'm expecting to see exactly the same this time around. The likes of Jamie King, Callum Wybrow, Jack Andrews at the front end of the PB 140 class, and Charlie Nesbitt equally in the number 86. He'll be looking at getting back ahead of Jamie King, who leads that championship by 3 points. Equally, Vince Bailey, Greg Pym, Phil Joyce, they need to claw back a lot of points on Will Howarth. Will Howarth unable to make this round. He almost took a clean sweep in round 1 and round 2. So Vince Bailey and Greg Pym equally will be looking at reeling back in some points in the Moto team class. So yeah, Moto team and the PB 140s, a lot of fun, very noisy, a lot of action, and you'll see the track get incredibly busy. We've got a rider off to the side, so we'll hopefully get them back on the grid, but everyone waiting to get set off on their formation lap. But the PB 140s and the Moto teams, always good action. As you see, that's the number 14 machine there, and that is Tom Whedon. So Tom Whedon trying to get his bike restarted there, hopefully getting himself back onto the grid to go green very, very shortly. But yeah, the PB 140s and especially Charlie Nesbitt, one of those riders, really well, just using the curbs and using the track limits to his advantage. Yeah, and it's Charlie Nesbitt, you can see in the shot there, who's just gone to the back to try and help out the rider who is off the side of the grid there. So Charlie Nesbitt, who will line up in 4th spot, just perhaps just having a look around at the moment. No number on the front there for the number 86, but just having a little tour of the grid before this race. Strange scenes at the front as they start their warm-up lap. It will be Rossi Banham who will start on pole position. A rider who we saw at Lid, sort of turned up on the last day, started from the back of the grid and climbed his way up through the field. So now, with a full weekend of racing, it'll be interesting to see what he can do from the front. He'll start on pole position ahead of Jamie King, Leo Caulfield, and the number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt. But it looks as if now we have some oil on the track. You can just see in the shot there, so some sort of substance down on the track over the start-finish straight. So we'll just have to wait and see what is going to happen with that one, Gareth. As you can see, yeah, I'm sure we'll hopefully get some concrete dust on that if it is a little bit of oil, because that will be incredibly slippery. And I think that was the number 17 grid slot there, so hopefully that won't harm the riders too much. You can see it's Jack Andrews that's lining up in 17th position, that's maybe dropped a little bit of fluid down on the surface, which is the last thing you want, because of course that part of the circuit is a corner, so you'll be at an angle going around there, so you definitely don't want to be losing any traction and losing any positions there. As Charlie Nesbitt comes into position, and he just readies up as we get everyone looking to the lights to get started with this first race of the weekend for the PB 140s and Moto team class. And it's going to be another stellar race expected, as we see one of the marshals just running up just to check in with the grid slot. And we'll see if we do have to put a little bit of, you can see the fluid down there on the circuit, so just assessing to see if it is going to harm these bikes. So yeah, maybe something leaking out of one of the parts of that bike there on that number 17 place, the number 14 machine.
Yeah, but looks to be assessed and all okay as we look to get this race underway. Looking back towards the front of the field, there is Rossi Banham lining up on a pole position, just ahead of pit bike specialist Jamie King. You can just see Charlie Nesbitt there talking to Leo Caulfield just next to him, but all these guys looking to the lights, and the lights are out and they are away. So Rossi Banham it is that holds a brilliant lead ahead of Jamie King. It is at the moment. Charlie Nesbitt has found his way up into third spot as we have a rider already out of the race there, but back to the front it's Rossi Banham who's held on to that lead and looking like he's starting to stretch it out a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what Jamie King and Charlie Nesbitt can do about that one. You can just see going into the hairpin for the first time. Expect to see some action in this race, especially down at the hairpin. It's looking a bit further back. You can see some of the Moto team bikes, so watch out for them as well in this race. They're running their own race, and I believe it's Simon Clowes who's currently leading that one, who qualified in the best position in that one at least. So Rossi Banham still leading across the line at the moment.
Yeah, great start there from Rossi Banham. Jamie King, who was nursing a cracked rib in Lid, doing very nicely in second place. Charlie Nesbitt in third. Eddie O'Shea in fourth. Cameron Horseman making his way up into fifth. Simon Gates in sixth. Bernie Hook, quick turnaround from him. He's in seventh place. Rob Petit in eighth. Leo Caulfield ninth, and we've got Cameron Caulfield equally in 10th position. So great start there from Rossi. Off the line, held on to it. He's done the fastest lap of 42 flat, half a second faster than anyone else.
Yeah, he's come across the line that time and done a 40.1. So some brilliant pace from Rossi Banham at the front, and he's already 0.7 of a second ahead of anyone else. Jamie King currently locked in a battle for second place ahead of Charlie Nesbitt, and Charlie Nesbitt has got ahead of Jamie King. So Charlie Nesbitt there, you can see with no number on the front of that bike, the number 86 is now ahead of Jamie King. Eddie O'Shea will also be looking to find a way through and to try and catch down Charlie Nesbitt. But now it's what can Charlie Nesbitt do about Rossi Banham at the front. On that last lap, Charlie Nesbitt sets the fastest lap of the race with a 39.9, so he's on a charge and on a mission to catch Rossi Banham. Just looking at the number 8 there, that's Eddie O'Shea. He's found his way through on Jamie King, and he's charging up through the field now, and they're trying to catch these two at the front. You can see there Charlie Nesbitt has just closed in on Rossi Banham, so that battle for the lead is going to start hotting up very shortly. And just behind Jamie King as well there, you can see Cameron Horseman looking very menacing, but at the moment it is Rossi Banham out the front who's leading this one.
Yeah, it's Simon Clowes leading the Moto team class down in 14th position on circuit, the number 133, but he's got Jason Pugh, the number 8 machine, for company, real close company. The pair split by 0.7 of a second across the line. Fastest lap in the race goes to Charlie Nesbitt at 39.5. So he's really starting to put the pressure on Rossi Banham in the PB 140s, and Charlie's going to want to add to these victories that he's been racking up in several different classes so far this season. Yeah, I'm sure by the end of this lap we'll see him right on the tail of Rossi Banham. Equally behind, like I said, you've got Simon Clowes, Jason Pugh. Jason Pugh now 0.2 of a second behind Simon Clowes. So the battle for the Moto team class win is really heating up, because they've got Jack Andrews equally not that far behind. Vince Bailey, sorry, not that far behind.
Yeah, and it's all hotting up at the front. Both the riders at the front under the lap record in this one. And so that's a 39.6, 39.5. So Charlie Nesbitt currently has that lap record, with both riders at the front pushing really hard. You can see there Rossi Banham just hanging off the side of the bike through that corner. Charlie Nesbitt seems to take a much tighter line through there, so perhaps something to look out for later in the race. It's the gap across the line though, still 1.1 of a second. Charlie Nesbitt's trying to get his bike to go a little bit quicker as they come across the start finish. 0.8 of a second now is the gap, so Charlie Nesbitt doing everything he can to catch Rossi Banham in this race. Still 6 laps still to go in this one, so that battle at the front really hotting up nicely, as you just see Charlie Nesbitt nicely backing it into the hairpin on the other side of the circuit. You can just see through that one, Charlie Nesbitt takes such a nicer, tighter line compared to Rossi Banham, but looking a little bit further back there, we can see a battle brewing up battles brewing up all through the field here. But there it is, Rossi Banham and Charlie Nesbitt, who came through your picture. Eddie O'Shea there is in third, and as we just have two riders down there at turn 2, I believe that is. So 2 look up and okay, shaking hands, and unfortunately we expected to see that in this race, Gareth.
Yeah, but all good-natured, up on their feet and shaking hands, apologising, and you can see all good-natured between these riders. But yeah, but it's Rossi Banham now holding off Charlie Nesbitt. Charlie doing another fastest lap of 39.513 on that one. The battle for third is really starting to warm up. Eddie O'Shea making his way up past Jamie King, but Jamie King and Cameron Horseman within a couple of tenths of a second of him. So yeah, it's all starting to go on throughout the field, but Rossi Banham still holding on to the lead of this one. Charlie Nesbitt falls back a little bit. He's now 1.4 seconds back, so maybe Charlie just cooling off after that last lap and just setting himself to go again. Eddie O'Shea 4.4 seconds back with Jamie King, Cameron Horseman for company, and then behind we've got a real fight going on between Robert T, Leo Caulfield and Simon Gates for 6th, 7th and 8th position.
Yeah, Rossi Banham now has stretched that lead out the front. We said how good Charlie Nesbitt was at carving through back markers. Well, Rossi Banham did a brilliant job to get under some lapped traffic there and managed to edge out that gap even further. But across the line now is 1.7 of a second, so he's edged that out even further. Both these riders consistently under the lap record now, so absolutely flying out the front and leaving no chance for Eddie O'Shea to catch them up. But Eddie O'Shea also doing a brilliant job in third place. As you just see, the Moto Team race leader at the moment, the number 133 of Simon Clowes, 14th in this race, but leading in his own respective race. Jason Pugh is second in that one, ahead of Vince Bailey, Greg Pym and Ian Jackson, rounding out the top 5 in the Moto Team. So Simon Clowes, who you can see in the picture there, he's going to be making the most of the fact that Will Howarth isn't here this weekend and trying to close him down on the championship. Yeah,
Simon Clowes not running on in round 2, so dropped a heap of points and fell back 20 odd points behind the likes of Vince Bailey and Greg Pym and Phil Joyce, so needing to pick up this victory today. And what he's doing so far is putting himself, well, he's got a couple of PB 140s between himself and Jason Pugh, so exactly what Simon needed to do to pick home or take home the class win for the Moto teams. But Rossi Banham back up in the PB 140s. He's now got 1.1 second lead over Charlie, so Charlie eking it back by 0.3 of a second across the line. We'll see if it comes. No, it's back up to 1.2, and it's a last lap of this one. So Rossi Banham in shape to picking up the victory. Charlie Nesbitt in second. Eddie O'Shea is doing a great job, still holding off Cameron Horseman, who's now jumped Jamie King into 4th position. Rossi Banham coming up to the hairpin. Only a couple more corners left to go in this one. It's looking as though it's going to be the first victory on the season for Rossi Banham. And the rider on the 196 machine has he's got the fastest lap. He's led from the front. He's held off Charlie Nesbitt, and he comes across the line, arm off the bike already, excited, and it comes across the line ahead of Charlie Nesbitt and takes the win. Rossi Banham from Charlie Nesbitt. Eddie O'Shea is just going to hold on to 3rd position by a fraction of a second of Cameron Horseman. Jamie King in 5th, and then behind we've got Leo Caulfield and Rob Petit.
Yep, and it looks like it's going to be Simon Clowes who's set to take the win in the Moto Team as we just see him coming around the final corner now. So Simon Clowes looking nice and comfortable ahead of Jason Pugh in this one, just behind the number. And there's a bike down in the background there. That's the number 114 of Jack Andrews. So Jack Andrews down in the background. It was Simon Clowes that took the win there, but unfortunate scenes at the final corner for Jack Andrews. Jason Pugh takes 2nd place in Moto Team ahead of Vince Bailey and Greg Pym. Ian Jackson round out the top 5 in the Moto Team.
There you go, the provisional race results there. It's Rossi Banham that takes that one by just under a second to Charlie Nesbitt. Eddie O'Shea is in 3rd position with Cameron Horseman in 4th. Jamie King in 5th with Leo Caulfield in 6th. Rob Petit in 7th. Simon Gates in 8th. Bernie Hook comes home 9th with Cameron Caulfield in 10th place. place. What a race there from Rossi Banham. Held off the fight from Charlie Nesbitt. Charlie dropping back, as you see a little bit of concrete dust being put there on a couple of grid slots. Yeah, great that race there from Rossi.
Yeah, absolutely controlled at the front, led every race, capitalised on that pole position, got a good lead, and Charlie Nesbitt just had no answer for him. Unfortunately, Charlie was really quick at one point in this race, catching down Rossi Banham, but Rossi did a really good job to get through some lap traffic. We said that Charlie Nesbitt was really good at getting through lap traffic, but it just seemed that Rossi Banham had the edge on him this time, both under the lap record, and I believe the lap record in the end went to Charlie Nesbitt. That could very well go again later on in the weekend, but brilliant stuff from both of them, brilliant pace, and also brilliant podium from Eddie O'Shea. A bit of a lonely one for him, but he had some brilliant pace in that one. Cameron Horseman also into the 39s as well, very close to the old lap record, so a lot of good pace from a lot of these riders in that one.
Yeah, you can see there just the riders just wheeling their bikes back into Parc Fermé, back into the paddock, and just taking stock of that last race, which saw a lot of action, as we usually see from the 140s and the moto teams. And yeah, a really good result there from Rossi Banham, and equally from Simon Clowes for picking up the moto team class win. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, whether you're listening live on motorsport.radio or watching on FAB-Racing's YouTube or their Facebook page. So yeah, if you're watching, make sure you like, subscribe, share, follow, all the good stuff you can do on the socials. Always good to hear from you too, so make sure you drop into the comments. Let us know you're watching, where you're watching from, and who you're supporting. And out on circuit now, we have the MKGP 50s. A very, very strong field, and we're expecting this to possibly be the most competitive that FAB are running this season, because the likes of Mason Foster, the likes of Ronnie Harris, they're going to go toe-to-toe, it seems, throughout the entire season.
Yeah, these three at the front have absolutely locked out the podiums so far this season. But it's a new name on pole position, mixing it with these guys. Number 70 of Ollie Horner, he did well at Lid, was just clinging on to the coattails of this guys, couldn't quite make it up onto the podium, but he's looking to change that this weekend. So you can see there the number 70 Ollie Horner on pole position, just ahead of the number 66 of Ronnie Harris. Ronnie Harris second place in the championship, 5 points away from Mason Foster, so that could all change very, very quickly. Mason Foster, you can see just further back there, the number 88, just behind the number 72 of Samuel Munson. So many names in this field that can be fighting for podiums, but so far it's been those top three that have pretty much just locked it out.
Yeah, and we heard from Mason Foster earlier on in the broadcast that this is the championship he's eyeing up. This is the one he wants to win, and yeah, he's in prime position, leading championship on 127 points, 5 ahead of Ronnie Harris, of course, on that 66 machine. And then Ethan Sparks doing very nicely, as well as equally on the AC40 bike. So Ethan Sparks in third place on 103 points. So a little bit of a gap back, a 24-point gap back to Mason Foster. But Mason, yeah, he's got his eyes on the prize, and that's picking up the victory. But it is Ollie Horner that's on the pole for this one, after a really good qualifying 2 from him.
Yeah, brilliant to see from Ollie Horner. So he'll be looking to pick up a podium or even a win in this race, and he's in the perfect place to do it. But he will have to fend off the likes of Ronnie Harris, Ethan Sparks, Mason Foster, and Samuel Munson also up there in third spot as well. So a lot of good names at the front of this race, all through the field as well. We will see battles brewing, some rivalries further back through the field between Harrison McKay and Clayton Edmonds as well. So it should be a very exciting race in this MKGP 50 class. This is the first taste of gearbox racing for these young riders, and they're doing a brilliant job of mastering these 50cc machines as they look to the lights for the first race of Clay Pigeon here, and they're away, and it is Ronnie Harris that takes the lead away from Ollie Horner, and Ethan Sparks now up into second place, but Ollie Horner looks like he got the cutback and maintained second position. Yes, it is Ollie Horner in second place ahead of Ethan Sparks. Clayton Edmonds doing really well there to get up into fourth spot, but Ronnie Harris looking like he's just breaking away slightly at the front now. What can Ollie Horner do about Ronnie Harris? Ethan Sparks also looking like he wants to be climbing up through this field further back. You can see the number 72 of Samuel Munson as well, as we look a little bit further back at the number 67 of Jacob Stevenson towards the about 16th in this race as they come across the line for the first time. Then it is Ronnie Harris, the number 66, leading from the number 70 of Ollie Horner and Ethan Sparks. Clayton Edmonds hanging on to the coattails of Ethan Sparks at the moment, looking for his first podium this weekend and looking in a good place to do it.
Yeah, Clayton Edmonds in a really good position there, and we saw a couple of bikes off the line just lifting the front tyre and getting pretty poor starts, so people just maybe a little bit too happy on the throttle and costing themselves a little bit of time. But yeah, it's Ronnie Harris, who we've seen from Lid, very, very fast starter, seems to be really switched on, incredible reflexes off the line. He made up several positions in qualifying off the line after qualifying in round 1 and round 2, and he's done it again. In fact, although this time round Ethan Sparks takes the fastest lap of 40.7 there, and the top 3 split by 0.6 of a second. Ronnie Harris over Ollie Horner, Ethan Sparks, Clayton Edmonds 1.5 seconds back, but nevertheless in the hunt for the podium.
Yeah, brilliant battle brewing up at the front. Ollie Horner now right on the back wheel of Ronnie Harris. So these two absolutely neck and neck at the moment. Ethan Sparks also looking pretty menacing in third place. He's managed to eke a bit of a gap over Clayton Edmonds. So Clayton needs to pick up the pace if he wants that first podium. But Ronnie Harris doing a brilliant job out the front to defend from Ollie Horner. Mason Foster there trying to make his way around the outside of Clayton Edmonds and up the inside into turn 2, can't quite make it stick. So Mason Foster looking to try and take fourth place away from Clayton Edmonds. Number 72 there of Samuel Munson also just looking to try and get in on the action there, but not far away from the podium at all, these guys, so anything can still happen in this race. But at the moment it is a 3-bike battle for the lead and a 3-bike battle for fourth spot. Mason Foster now trying to find his way past, but it looks as if Samuel Munson is trying to find his way through on the number 88 of Mason Foster. Couldn't quite make a move stick at the final corner, but is looking like he's trying to find a way to get through on the number 88 with 8 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, just trying to unnerve Mason Foster there, just putting his front tyre just in the periphery of Mason Foster there, but Mason doing a good job just to hold on to his line and not get too scared, too jumped out by it, and hold on to 5th position. And Clayton Edmonds doing a really good job so far in the 146, holding on to 4th place and holding off a very fast 88 machine of Mason Foster. But up at the front, it's Ronnie Harris in the 66 that is still in the lead of this one. Ollie Horner still going with him. Ollie Horner that's yet to pick up a podium, a couple of 4th place finishes in Lid, but he's solidly in the hunt for this win. The gap between the top 3 is still less than 0.6 of a second, so it's going to go right down to the wire. We've got 7 laps left to go in this one. We've got 3-way battle for the top 3 and a 3-way battle for 4th, 5th and 6th position.
Yeah, so Ronnie Harris is who's led from the start until this point in the race. Looking a bit further back at the number 61 of Harrison McKay there, just defending from Alfie Davidson. Brilliant battle hotting up there for 8th spot. As you can see, he defends his lines from the number 8 of Alfie Davidson. Luke Schofield, Charlie Huntington and Casey Sperry also in that battle. But Ollie Horner is who's just set the fastest lap of the race behind Ronnie Harris now. So Ollie Horner throwing absolutely everything at it to try and find his way through on Ronnie Harris. Ethan Sparks also all with very close times at the front there. Clayton Edmonds also putting out a really good place of 40.8. So this top 6 all in the 40s and all with very similar pace. So it could be any of these riders, but it is the battle at the front between the top 3 of 66, the number 70 Ollie Horner and the number 62 of Ethan Sparks at the moment. Looking again at that battle for 8th place between Harrison McKay and Alfie Davidson at the moment.
Yeah, Harrison McKay doing a good job to hold off Alfie Davidson, but Alfie, who is in his first race weekend of the season, is really starting to put pressure on Harrison McKay, and he's going to try and close in for 8th position. Ronnie Harris setting the fastest lap of the race there, a 40.572, stretches his gap out to 0.3 of a second, but the top 3 still split by 0.6 of a second consistently throughout this one. So yeah, it's going to be a close finish. You can see just the gaggle of bikes there as we get towards the hairpin, and this is what we were talking about earlier with the bikes bunching up, especially in this GP 50 class.
Yeah, and you can see they're really bunching up for this battle for 8th place that we're looking at. An absolute train of riders. You've got Harrison McKay in there, Alfie Davidson, Luke Schofield, Charlie Huntingford also in there, Casey Sperry, the number 20, Harry Payne, the number 99 of Warwick Brady in there. We saw him picking up podiums last time out as Alfie Davidson there goes through on Harrison McKay at turn 2. Brilliant move there. Harrison McKay looking to try and find his way back through. Can't quite do it at the S's. So a long race of attrition left to go. 4 laps for these guys left around this Clay Pigeon Raceway circuit. So plenty of time for these guys to swap and change positions as Ollie Horner sets the fastest lap of the race yet again at the front, and Samuel Munson sets a 40.2 on that last lap. So Samuel Munson absolutely on a charge in 6th spot with that battle for 4th place between Clayton Edmonds, Mason Foster and Samuel Munson really hotting up. But back at the front now, Ronnie Harris has just managed to hold on to the lead of this race for quite some time now, with Ollie Horner absolutely studying him at the moment. Ethan Sparks holding on to 3rd place at the moment, also 3rd place in the championship. Ethan took 1 win last time out at Lydd and will be looking to take another one this weekend. 2 laps to go for these guys then. So who will it be? Will it be Ronnie Harris, Ollie Horner or Ethan Sparks?
It's going to be close between the 3 of them. Clayton Edmonds doing a great job if you're Ronnie Harris, or if you're Ethan Sparks, holding off Mason Foster for 4th and 5th position. We've got about a lap and a half to go. You can see on screen there Ronnie Harris holding off Ollie Horner. Ethan Sparks equally staying with them. He's just biding his time, it feels, and Ethan Sparks just following this pair of them up ahead, not able to get a move done just yet. But Ollie Horner has been setting purple laps, but equally you can see these 3 at especially the top 2 trading purple laps throughout the race, and it is Ronnie Harris that leads on to the final lap of this one by 0.3 of a second. Ethan Sparks 0.5 back from that. Clayton Edmonds, Samuel Munson, Samuel Munson jumps Mason Foster into 5th position. So after showing some good pace, Samuel Munson now jumping past the 88 of Mason Foster into 5th. We're coming into the final stages of this one. It's Ronnie Harris that's still holding on to the lead. Ollie Horner is doing all he can. Ethan Sparks in 3rd position. But here comes Ronnie Harris around the final corner. He's only got a little bit of a run down to the line. Can Ollie Horner get a run on him? It's looking as though it's going to be Ronnie Harris across the line. Across the line goes Ethan Sparks, who takes Ollie Horner by a 200th of a second. Ethan Sparks, he used it right off the last corner, and Ethan Sparks steals 2nd place from Ollie Horner right on the line. Just a blink of an eye, and we've got 2 riders down there, and it is Samuel Munson that jumps up into 4th ahead of Clayton Edmonds as well. So Samuel Munson coming alive in the final stages of that one, jumping up past Clayton Edmonds and Mason Foster. So Mason Foster dropping ground there with Ronnie Harris and Ethan Sparks picking up 1st and 2nd in that one.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from all of these guys, and a very well calculated 2nd place from Ethan Sparks. You could see him having a look earlier on at the hairpin, almost made contact on that last lap, but then absolutely calculated it beautifully out of the last corner to get Ollie Horner on the line. Ollie Horner, his first podium of the season though, so he should be happy with that one. Brilliant stuff from Ollie Horner, a pole position and a podium. There it is confirmed then. Ronnie Harris took the win from Ethan Sparks, a brilliant 2nd place for him. Ollie Horner, his first podium ahead of Samuel Munson, Clayton Edmonds in 5th. Good ride from Clayton ahead of Mason Foster, Cameron Sewell, Davidson, McKay and Payne rounding out your top 10.
What a race there from Ronnie Harris to hold off the pressure from Ethan Sparks and Ollie Horner. Ollie Horner is probably going to be absolutely devastated with that, because he was looking as though he was on for potentially picking up the victory, but loses it on the line to Ethan Sparks. But we said Ethan Sparks, he was just sitting in 3rd place, waiting for his moment, and final corner, what does he do? He gets a better run out of the final corner on Ollie Horner, takes it across the line, 200th of a second.
Yeah, that was really impressive from Ethan Sparks. I'm not sure if he actually knew that he had it across the line, because he almost looked disappointed on the cool-down lap. But yeah, brilliantly calculated from Ethan Sparks. We saw him have a look earlier on in the lap at the hairpin, almost made contact with Ollie Horner, recovered from that little incident and managed to take 2nd place away from Ollie Horner. But Ollie Horner, you've got to say, he has to be happy with that, a pole position and his first podium of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And But the rider that will be happiest will be Ronnie Harris. Another win for him on this one, and closes that gap up to Mason Foster, who was leading, and Mason dropping down to 6th in that one. So it's going to be close in this one. We're expecting the GP50s to be a particularly close one.
Yeah, it's really close at the top of the championship as well. Going into that one, Ronnie Harris was only 5 points behind Mason Foster there. So with Mason Foster finishing down in 6th place, it looks like Ronnie Harris will take the championship lead after that one. But a long championship still to go, and anything can happen.
Yeah. Let's hear from Ronnie Harris. Before this weekend, we spoke to him in the paddock about his season so far.
Long, but what do you think you can...
FAB-Racing.
T40 Pros and
The official
Welcome back to Clay Pigeon Raceway. We're about to get underway here for race 1 for the Extreme 200s. An exciting grid for these guys. We saw some lap records go earlier on today. Some British Talent Cup riders in this one. The number 16 of Harvey Claridge and also Cameron Horseman in this one as well. You can also see the number 99 there. That's Bailey Stewart Campbell. Number 93 is Harrison Crosby. So lots of big names on this grid, so expect to see some exciting racing just like there was earlier on in the Pit Bike 140s. A few British Talent Cup leathers through the field you can see there, but it's Harrison Crosby who's at the front of this one at the moment. Charlie Nesbitt supposed to be on this grid, can't quite see him on the track at the moment though, so hopefully he can get out on the grid and give us some exciting racing as well.
Yeah, but it was Harrison Crosby that took a really, really strong pole position, really good lap in Q2, and he will be lining up on that front row. Yeah, but Harrison, you've got to think, he's in a pretty good position in the championship. Of course, Casey O'Gorman leads it, but missing this round. Harrison Crosby in second place, so Harrison will be looking at closing in on that that leading position that Casey's currently holding on to, but obviously with a lack of Casey, Harrison is going to think this is definitely an opportunity of putting himself as the standout in the chase for this title, the Extreme 200s here at FAB. We've got everyone on the grid ready to go, looking to the lights. Get start for the Extreme 200s and off and underway. Charlie Nesbitt does come across the line. Harrison Crosby does come across the line in first position into turn 1. Everyone around the first corner, all clean, and it's a good getaway there for the pole sitter.
Yeah, Charlie Nesbitt, the number 86 at the front of this one, just backing it into the hairpin, but just lets through the number 16 of Harvey Claridge there. So a change for the lead on this first lap. Expect to see these riders battling it out race long, and expect to see some lap records set in this one. Further back, you can see Cameron Horseman with the British Talent Cup leathers there. Expect to see him fighting through the field as well. You can also see James Cook there. Number 99 is of Bailey Stewart Campbell, currently in third place, and Harrison Crosby now down to fourth. So Harvey Claridge then is that leads by half a second over the line on that last lap. So he's pulling away now from Charlie Nesbitt, although it looks like Charlie Nesbitt has closed that gap right down already and going into the hairpin.
Yep, the rider from Stenning in with a half-second gap over Charlie. Yeah, the number 18 machine, number 86, sorry, over the 16 machine, and Bailey Stewart Campbell in third, Harrison Crosby in fourth, Ryan Hitchcock in fifth, Eddie O'Shea sixth, James Cook seventh, Leo Caulfield eighth, Ollie Walker ninth, Cameron Horseman in 10th, and Alex Sinclair in 11th place. This Extreme 200s, we've got 8 laps left to go. Plenty of racing to be done here as Harvey Claridge does the fastest lap, the 38.0. So that puts him up or near that race record, because, well, race record is in fact 38.0 goes to Harvey Claridge. Lap record was Charlie Nesbitt in qualifying. Yeah, so already first lap, and they've already broken the lap record. So brilliant pace from the front for these guys at the moment. Harvey Claridge doing a brilliant job to control the pace at the front. Still half a second over Charlie Nesbitt. So it'll be interesting to see what Charlie Nesbitt can do. But it's 0.2 of a second now across the line. So Charlie Nesbitt really putting a charge on to stay with Harvey Claridge. Harrison Crosby just holding on to third place at the moment ahead of Eddie O'Shea. But you can see Charlie Nesbitt getting nice and close now to Harvey Claridge, backing it into the hairpin once again as a marshal just picks up a knee slider that went off on the side of the circuit. Hopefully that's not Harvey Claridge we saw last time out of Lid. He lost 2 knee sliders last time, so hopefully both of those are still on and he can finish this one, although it does look like he's hovering his knee over the and not quite putting it down there, but I think I'm just slightly overthinking that one. He has got his knee sliders on there. The number 86 of Charlie Nesbitt then getting really close to Harvey Claridge at the moment. So what can Charlie do about the number 16 of Harvey Claridge? Yeah, it's the last person you want behind you going into. You can see Charlie getting sideways going into the hairpin, but yeah, for Harvey, it's the last person you want behind you, because Charlie will put his bike everywhere to get past you, and so he will use all of the track to his advantage. So Harvey Claridge has got his work cut out if he's going to hold off Charlie Nesbitt over the next 7 laps or so. But he's got a good run here. You can see Charlie Nesbitt closing in on Harvey Claridge, but Harvey goes and takes that racing line. He's making Charlie go the long way round if he's going to get an overtake done. Behind, Harrison Crosby's moved up into 3rd place ahead of Eddie O'Shea. Ryan Hitchcock is in 5th position. James Cook now up into 6th. Leo Caulfield moves past Bailey Stewart Campbell, who's dropped down to 8th.
Yep, and number 86 there, Charlie Nesbitt getting real close to Harvey Claridge at the hairpin. Look, tried to make a move stick, but was just slightly too far back, almost made contact at the hairpin. So perhaps will be a place where we see Charlie try to make a move later on in this race. Still 7 laps to go in this one, and your championship leader in this one, Gareth, is actually someone who's not here at the moment. Casey O'Gorman was lead at the first round, picked up a few wins there, but he's not around in this one, so a good chance for Harrison Crosby, Charlie Nesbitt, Eddie O'Shea to get some points on him.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to think it's almost up the inside. Goes Charlie Nesbitt on Harvey Claridge, and behind you can see the battle still going on between Eddie O'Shea and Harrison Crosby, but Charlie really starting to get racy behind Harvey Claridge now, trying to find a way past and trying to force his way through, almost rubbing the back tyre there of the 16. Charlie Nesbitt really putting the pressure on as they come down the main bend, almost a straight as they get towards turn 1, and but it is Harvey Claridge holding on to this one. 0.3 of a second is the gap. 5 laps left to go in this one, and Harvey Claridge is going to be sweating if he can hold on to this one.
Yeah, you just see every lap Charlie Nesbitt just has a look at the hairpin, gets it sideways, and just see if he can get through on Harvey Claridge. So you're going to think that's where he's going to try and make a move stick. We saw him last time around try and make a move at the final corner, not trying it this time around. Gets a nice wide line into there. So he's just figuring out where he can make a move on Harvey Claridge, and you've got to think it's going to come at some point, because Charlie Nesbitt definitely not shy of a battle. We saw that with Brad Ray last time out, both taking a nice wide line. Harvey Claridge, like you say, going real defensive into turn 2. He knows that Charlie Nesbitt is right on his back wheel and doesn't want to let Nesbitt through. Both under the lap record then by quite some way. 37.8 for Claridge and a 37.7 for Nesbitt. So that lap record going the way of Charlie Nesbitt at the moment, but they're not bothered about lap records at this point. It's about who can get one on the other one, who's going to take the win in this race. Looking further back at the battle for 3rd place there, that's Harrison Crosby and Eddie O'Shea battling it out. So a brilliant pace from them being shown as well, as they just come through on a back marker now, and Charlie Nesbitt absolutely on the back wheel and now in front of Harvey Claridge. So a brilliant move from Charlie Nesbitt to get in front of Harvey Claridge. You're going to think Harvey's going to try and have a look now at what he can do about Charlie Nesbitt. Both matched for pace, but Charlie absolutely riding extremely well now at the front. Yep, 2 laps left to go at the end of this one, and it's now Harvey Claridge has now got to go on the offensive, with Charlie Nesbitt making his way up into 1st place, making that move into turn 1. Can Harvey get a run on him around the outside, sweeping into the tight first corner, and you can see just taking the apex goes Charlie Nesbitt, making sure he covers off any potential moves, and through the S section, as you can see, just having a quick look behind just to see where Harvey Claridge is, but not quite close enough to get a move done into the first of the hairpins. Now into the horseshoe, and it is Charlie Nesbitt that's going to come around to start the final lap in the lead of this one, taking a much tighter apex there, hugging the inside line, and trying to make sure that Harvey doesn't even get an eye in about a place he can get a move. Yeah, that was something we saw in one of the races earlier on. Charlie tends to take a really tight line through there, and it seems to work really well for him. You can see Claridge was quite a bit wider and lost a bit of time on Nesbitt there, so Nesbitt with a little bit of breathing space at the moment. Harvey Claridge is going with him, but a little bit of space for Charlie to not have to ride as defensively as if Harvey was right on his back wheel. But with 1 lap to go in this one, looks like Charlie Nesbitt is trying to cover his lines. Only 1 chance for Harvey Claridge to get through on Charlie Nesbitt. He doesn't seem to be close enough, so what can he do? Get him on a drag to the line as they come towards the line. Harvey Claridge doing everything he can to get up on Charlie Nesbitt, but it's Charlie Nesbitt who takes the win ahead of Harvey Claridge. Brilliant ride for both of those, and the lap record goes to Harvey Claridge on the final lap there, so doing everything he could to get through on Charlie Nesbitt, but it wasn't enough. Charlie Nesbitt takes another win in the Extreme 200s. Every race he's been in, in the Extreme 200s, Gareth. He's either finished in first or second.
Yeah, that's a third win on the season fourth win on the season for Charlie Nesbitt. And Harvey Claridge, as you say, doing all he can and taking that race lap record with a 37.735, 300ths of a second faster than Charlie Nesbitt. But it is Charlie Nesbitt that takes the victory, 1/10 of a second ahead of Harvey Claridge. Eddie O'Shea holds on to third place by 0.5 over Harrison Crosby. Harrison just missing out on the podium. Ryan Hitchcock in 5th place with James Cook in 6th. Leo Caulfield in 7th. Bailey Stewart Campbell in 8th. Ollie Walker in 9th position, and Karen Horseman in 10th place, and Alex Sinclair finishing outside the top 10 in 11th. But Harvey, after losing the lead, after holding on to it for so long, did all he can. Race lap record of 37.7, but not quite close enough to get the move done on Charlie across the line.
Yeah, you've got to feel for him. He led all race long, but unfortunately fell victim to Charlie Nesbitt. So Charlie riding brilliantly, studied Harvey, tried a few moves during the race and then made one stick towards the end, and unfortunately Harvey Claridge had no answer for him. So a brilliant win for Charlie Nesbitt, brilliant second for Harvey Claridge, and a brilliant third place for Eddie O'Shea to take that away from the number 93 of Harrison Crosby. The final race of the day then, race 1 for the MKGP 70s, the elite class for the junior riders. This is their final class before they move up onto the big circuits, and it's looking as if this weekend is going to go in favour of Johnny Garnes. He's looking very strong this weekend, and he will be starting from pole position. So can any of the field do anything about the sheer pace of Johnny Garnes out the front?
Yeah, he's been so strong in qualifying. He's comfortably been around 7 or 8 tenths of a second faster a lap compared to the rest of the field. So this is looking as though, if all goes to plan for Johnny, that he can hold on to this one and take another victory in the MKGP 70s. He took 2 at round 1 and didn't actually win at round 2. A couple of second place finish in the third, but it's going to be Johnny Garnes on the pole for this one. Behind, in fact, Johnny Garnes, whose birthday was on Friday, so happy birthday for Friday for Johnny Garnes, turning 12 and looking at moving up to the British Talent Cup later this season. So he'll be looking at getting getting the reps in earlier in this one and moving up, as you say, into that next step onto the big tracks, and he will be looking at putting up a pretty dominant weekend here at Clay Pigeon.
Yeah, that's British Talent Cup is the next step for a lot of these riders. But this weekend, Johnny's focus is fully on the GP70s and claiming maximum points in that one. Josh Bannister alongside him on the grid. They look to the lights, and the lights go out for the first race of the day. Ben Jolliffe gets a brilliant start to get up ahead into the lead. And it is Ben Jolliffe then who's leading ahead of Johnny Garnes, and Josh Bannister dropping down to 4th place now because Lucas Brown is absolutely on a charge. So Lucas Brown up into 3rd, the slightly taller rider there on the number 29. And that is now the 57 who moves into the lead. So Johnny Garnes has made his way through on Ben Jolliffe and is going to be looking to try and check out on this one. Ben Jolliffe is going to have to snap straight back at Johnny Garnes to make sure he can't get in the rhythm and can't pull away. Yeah,
Garnes bogged down off the line and was able to be jumped by Ben Jolliffe, but across the line does come Johnny Garnes, who retook that lead, and he leads by 3 tenths of a second. Josh Bannister in 3rd, Lucas Brown in 4th, Mason Foster in 5th, Harrison McKay in 6th, Alfie Davidson in 7th, Clayton Edmonds in 8th, Holly Harris in 9th, and Jacob Stevenson in 10th place. But yeah, Johnny Garnes back up into the lead of this one. Let's see if Ben Jolliffe can go with him.
Yeah, and some brilliant battle brewing further back for 3rd place between Josh Bannister and Lucas Brown. They're swapping positions as well there. As we see a rider down, I believe that's Ben Jolliffe down, so that's your 2nd place man down and in the middle of the circuit. Yeah, that's the number 125 of Ben Jolliffe, doing everything he could to try and stay on Johnny Garnes. The rider up and okay, looking a little bit winded, very unfortunate for him. So that promotes Lucas Brown, the number 29, up into 2nd place. And now that gives Johnny Garnes a mammoth lead at the front, 2.7 seconds. And you've got to think with pace like Johnny Garnes has, don't think anyone has a chance of catching him.
Yeah, Ben Jolliffe was the only one in qualifying that could kind of almost get into that level that Johnny Garness was showing. So with Ben Jolliffe unfortunately going down, that means that Johnny is going to probably stretch this gap out ahead of Lucas Brown, who's embroiled in his own battle between himself and Josh Bannister and Mason Foster. So this is a perfect storm for Johnny Garness. The second place man has gone down, and Lucas Brown is involved in a fight of his own between himself, Josh Bannister, Mason Foster and Alfie Davidson. So it's a 4-bike fight for second place.
Yeah, so this one hotting up really nicely. Then you can just see how much bigger there Lucas Brown is compared to his competitors, but doing a brilliant job there to cling on to that second place. We were saying earlier on that we were watching the practices, we were watching the qualifyings, and we could see how Johnny Garness could just consistently put in mid to low 38s, and was the only rider that could do that. So not only was he faster than everyone else, but he's consistent with it. Look, every lap he's doing is in the 38s, while the other riders are in the 39s at the moment. We have seen a few riders drop into the 38s, such as Josh Bannister, Ben Jolliffe, even Lucas Brown. So these riders are capable of getting down to that pace, but with a 4.2 second lead, there's no chance of them catching Johnny Garness at the moment. So it's all about Lucas Brown, Josh Bannister, Mason Foster and Alfie Davidson, what they can do to see who's going to take that second position. Looking a bit further back there, the battle between the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds and the number 61 of Harrison McKay. Clayton was saying to us earlier in the weekend that his rival was Harrison McKay, and he was looking to beat him this weekend. So a bit of a rivalry brewing between those two. But it is Harrison McKay at the moment who has that advantage over the number 146 of Clayton Edmonds. They're battling out for 6th place. So brilliant battle brewing there. You can just see Harrison McKay looking over his shoulder, riding defensively, making sure Clayton Edmonds can't find his way through. So brilliant to see rivalries all through the field here.
Yeah, exactly, and not just for the lead. You want to have someone to go out in the midfield, which means that there's still action going on throughout the pack. It's not just the lead that we see the fights go. And you can see Clayton, he had his eyes on, he knew who he was going to be fighting with, and it was going to be Harrison McKay. And what we're seeing is Clayton Edmonds and Harrison McKay fighting on circuit. So, yeah, clearly Clayton knows a lot more than we do, because, he's right behind him. But that man at the front is checking out, and that is Johnny Garness. It's now a 5.2 second lead. He's coming up to start. 5 laps left to go in this one, and he's just enjoying a pretty comfortable race. He's dipped into the 38s, low 38s consistently. Comes across the line and once again does another low 38. Lucas Brown getting into the 38s, and so is Josh Bannister. So second, third and fourth starting to get a little bit quicker. The gap between Lucas Brown and Josh Bannister across the line was 0.6 of a second. Mason Foster is trying to hold off Alfie Davidson for 4th and 5th position. Mason Foster, he's got his eyes on GP50 title, but he did say he wanted to finish in the top 3 in the 70s. So he's got a little bit of work to do. Josh Bannister and Lucas Brown a little bit further up, but doing a good job, 4th place. Yeah,
4th place is if his target's the podium, he's not far from it at all, and setting a good pace as well. Embroiled in a battle at the moment with the number 88 and the number 8, Mason Foster and Alfie Davidson, just battling it out at the moment for 4th spot. You just see them barreling down into turn 2 now. You can see Josh Bannister isn't too far in front, so it could very well be possible that Mason Foster and Alfie Davidson find their way onto that battle for 2nd place between Lucas Brown and Josh Bannister, but they are setting a very blistering pace, these guys, but matching the pace is Mason Foster, but with a little bit of a gap. It might be a little bit of a tall order for him and Alfie Davidson to join that battle.
As Clayton Edmonds has passed Harrison McKay for 6th place now, so Clayton up into 6th position and has a 0.3 gap between himself and Harrison, so getting that move done for 6th. Alfie Davidson is closing in on Mason Foster, 0.3 of a second between the pair of them, between Mason Foster and Alfie Davidson. Josh Bannister now 0.2 of a second behind Lucas Brown, so Lucas doing a good defensive drive, and we're coming around to start the penultimate lap. So 2 laps left to go at the end of this one. It's Johnny Garness that's coming up to the final corner, and he's going to start the second to final lap with a 6.8 second lead. And we said that he was doing laps around about 0.9 of a second faster than anyone else, and he's showing it with a huge gap over Lucas Brown and Josh Bannister.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only is he consistent in the race, he's also consistent in the championship. He hasn't been off the podium yet this year. So absolutely brilliant stuff. That's how you win championships. He's leading the championship by 24 points, to be even more than that by the end of this race. And he's doing it just by consistently being on the podium. He's had 2 wins, a second and a third place. So really consistent for Johnny Garness. So brilliant stuff at the front. An absolutely 8-second lead, so absolutely destroying the field here as he goes on to start the final lap of this race.
Yeah. And it is going to be Johnny Garness that's going to take this one with a huge gap over the rest of the field. Lucas Brown, damage limitation, finishing in second place behind Johnny Garness, will help him in the championship. But Johnny Garness coming up to the final 2 corners, and he's looking as though he's going to pick up an absolutely dominant first win.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant ride from Johnny Garness. Consistent in the championship and consistent in this race as he makes his way around the final corner. Johnny Garness then is that takes the first win of the weekend in the Mini GP70s for round 3 here at Clay Pigeon. He looks delighted with that one. 3rd win of the season for Johnny Garness and extends his championship lead over Lucas Brown, who takes 2nd place over the number 2 of Josh Bannister in 3rd place. A good podium for Josh Bannister. He'll be happy with that one. Mason Foster does fend off Alfie Davidson for 5th, and Clayton Edmonds, the number 146, does take 6th place ahead of Harrison McKay. So that battle brewed up very nicely. And Holly Harris, they're taking 8th place just ahead of Jacob Stevenson as well. So battles all through this MK GP70 field.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see Johnny Garness punching the air, waving to the crowd, waving to the cameras. Absolutely delighted with that. Another victory on the season. That makes it his 3rd of the season. Another podium, and this one on the top step. And it's going to be an absolutely mega race there for Johnny Garness, celebrating his birthday weekend and doing it in some style. Behind Lucas Brown, as I said, damage limitation holding off Josh Bannister for 2nd position. Josh Bannister in 3rd. Mason Foster coming home in 4th, managing to hold off Alfie Davidson by half a second. So good job there from Mason Foster. And Clayton Edmonds did finish ahead of Harrison McKay in 6th. And 7th, Horace Harris did get up to 8th position ahead of Jacob Stevenson in 9th, and Greg Marshall in 10th place. But yeah, what an end to the day. That was the final race for us, and Johnny Garness doing exactly what we expected.
Yeah, we saw how consistent he was. We've been speaking about it all weekend. We watched him in pre-practice, we watched him in qualifying, and he was able to do that consistent low 38 pace, really close to the lap record. So he was just able to put down a pace that no one else could, and absolutely flew away at the front. It was a real shame that Ben Jolliffe crashed in the opening stages of the races. He was really trying to stay on the back wheel of Johnny Garness. So that would have been interesting to see if he could have gone with him, and we could have seen a battle for the win. But he'll be back stronger for race 2 tomorrow. Yeah,
and plenty more action coming up tomorrow on Sunday from here at Clay Pigeon Raceway. So tune in tomorrow on motorsport.radio and equally on FAB-Racing on their YouTube channel and equally on their Facebook channel. So go to the pages, like, share and subscribe. Do all the good stuff on social media. We will be back for wall-to-wall action throughout the day tomorrow here from Clay Pigeon down in Dorset. And have a very good evening. We hope to see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. My name is Gareth Hall. This is Tristan Finocchiaro signing off for tonight from here at Clay Pigeon. Have a very good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Everyone's still live. Number 3 live. Back to black.